My name is Angelique Robledo, and I am a survivor of attempted fetal abduction.
They are gruesome headlines that read like a made-for-TV movie, but for the victims, they are all too real. Teen in Arizona attacked pregnant friend, tried to cut baby out of her womb.
I can't share their story because they didn't survive, and that is how tragic this crime is.
Hey, true crime besties. Welcome back to an all-new episode of Seriously. Hello. Welcome back to an all-new episode of Seriously. It's me, your host and your true crime BFF, Annie Elise, and we are here to talk about another case today. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. Hopefully you're having a good start to your week, whether you're listening to this on Monday or a different time throughout the week. I'm just happy that you're here, so thank you so much for being here. Now, today's case, I want to just give a little bit of a warning, okay? It is extremely triggering, graphic, and very personal. Now, what I want you to do for me for just a minute here is I want you to close your eyes, not if you're driving, but if you're in a safe space, close your eyes and imagine being 18 years old. And imagine being 18 and pregnant and being in the final months of your pregnancy, preparing for what is supposed to be the most exciting and happiest moments of your life, while unbeknownst to you, somebody that you trust and you think is your friend is secretly plotting to kill you and steal your unborn baby. Now, I know that it sounds like the plot of a Lifetime movie or some sort of true crime movie, but for Angelique Robledo, this was her terrifying reality. In 2011, Angelique was a pregnant teenager living in Arizona, and she befriended another woman who appeared to be going through the exact same experience. So the two of them bonded over their pregnancies and also what felt like a shared journey into motherhood. However, behind that friendship was a very disturbing plan, one that investigators say involved murder and an attempt to cut out Angelique's unborn child from her womb. Now, crimes like this are known as fetal abductions, and they are relatively rare, although unfortunately we have talked about quite a few of them on here. We've talked about Rebecca Park, Heidi Broussard, Reagan Hancock, so unfortunately more common than anybody would like. But even though they're rare, when they do happen, they are some of the most shocking cases in true crime. And speaking of the case of Heidi Broussard, I would imagine many of you are familiar with that name and that case. She was a young mother in Texas who was killed by someone she believed was a close friend of hers. Then that person abducted her newborn child and tried to pass the baby off as her own. Now, Angelique's story, it could have ended the very same way. But thankfully, it didn't. She survived. And today, we're lucky enough to have Angelique in the studio to share her experience firsthand. So please join me in welcoming Angelique. Hi, Angelique. Thank you so much for being here and welcome to Seriously.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here.
It's nice to have you. So what I would love to do before we get into everything and your experience and everything that you went through, I would love to just start with what high school was like for you. If you could just walk us through that.
Yeah, absolutely. So high school, it was interesting. I ran with like a really bad crowd, I guess you could say. So I kind of started off with I moved from California to Arizona, and so I felt like I was out of place a lot of the times. Like a lot of things in California were just different. So I tend to people please, I guess you could say, and I tend to like fall into the peer what is it called?
Peer pressure?
Peer pressure, yeah. So I fell into a lot of peer pressure as like a teenager. So I did a lot. I feel like I wasn't myself a lot. So I kind of ran with the wrong crowd, got in a lot of trouble. Um, and it kind of like I went through like a lot of trauma when I was younger. So I got arrested by the cops and things like that. And it was just like minor things just for like getting into a fight or I think at one point maybe I shoplifted something. And so it was a very small town, so everybody knew each other.
In Arizona, in your new town?
In my new town, yeah.
Okay.
Everybody knew each other. So it kind of falls in line because the detective that ran my case had arrested me like twice.
Wow.
And she's been in my life for over like 5 or 6
Oh,
years
so she saw
prior.
it come full
She
circle.
saw it come full circle. Yeah.
So when you say you ran with a little bit of a tough crowd, in addition to maybe the fights or the shoplifting, was there anything else that you would, was it just like house parties and things like that?
It was just like house parties. And then I kind of started when I hit like 10th grade, I started to run with like, I say run with, but like I started to hang out with different people.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I kind of drew away from like the old crowd that I was hanging out with. But unfortunately, like even going through all of that, I was going through a lot of stuff at home and hanging out with like the new friends that I was like, I feel like I did get more of a high school experience. Like I was going to football games, I played soccer.
Oh.
So it kind of like
It was nice to get that like typical high school experience from when before it was a little bit tougher.
exactly. So like I
Okay.
started actually doing like going on like I remember like we would go and like go to like run or ride quads and we
Mm-hmm.
would go to Country Thunder. So like I started to like be able to like feel like what it was like to actually be a teenager and be with friends who were genuine. And it was a good experience. It really was. Unfortunately, at the end of my high school though, before I got pregnant with my son, I did fall into an addiction. So I did fall into an addiction with meth. And when I got pregnant with Ryland, I was doing meth at that time. So I feel like Ryland saved my life in a way.
That's amazing. Well, let's walk through that a little bit. When
Mhm.
did you discover that you were pregnant? Were you, was it a surprise? Were you with a boyfriend? You were 18 at the time.
So I was 17
Oh,
when
17
yeah,
when you got pregnant.
I was
Okay.
17 when I got pregnant. And me and Ryland's dad, his name is Josh, it's my husband now, but his name was Josh, and we were just friends at the time. And it was one of those things like where it just happened. And then we just didn't talk because I was doing drugs at that time. So from then, me and him kind of just didn't talk at all. And I was working at Jack in the Box, and I remember there were a few friends there that I was doing like the drugs with. And I remember sitting there thinking like something's wrong. And they were like, what do you mean? I was like when I do this, like I'm not able to stay up, like I'm vomiting, like
It's not having the same effects
it's not
that it
having the
normally
same
would.
effect. Yeah. So I wasn't feeling like how I was. And I remember my coworker was like, well, what do you think? And I was like, I think I'm pregnant. And he was like, no. And I was like, yeah. And so I
Wow.
remember I didn't take a test or anything because I was too scared, but I actually came home that night and my mom was already in my room with a pregnancy test.
Oh, wow. Mother's intuition.
Mother's intuition. She like threw the test at me and she was like, take it. And I was like, no. Like, no, why are you
Yeah.
throwing this at me? She's like, you haven't started your period. And I was like, why are you tracking my stuff? Like,
Mhm.
how dare you? Then I became very
teenage kid,
defensive. Like,
yes.
how dare you? My privacy. Like, how
Yep.
dare you do that? And she was like, your period hasn't started. Like, I think something's going on. And so I remember I was in a panic and I was shoving her out of my room and I took the test and I went into the bathroom. And I remember I smoked that day. Like, I remember I was in the bathroom and I was smoking meth. And I took the test and not even like within 5 seconds, the test came out positive.
Wow.
And so that was like a really big realization of like, holy crap, like what is going
What did
on?
you feel in that moment? Were you scared, excited?
I was terrified. I
Yeah.
was extremely terrified. And I immediately called Josh. And
You had said you had stopped talking at this point, right?
Mhm.
And was he using it all?
No, he was not using it at all.
So-
So that's why me and him didn't talk because I was running. He was more like, oh, I heard you're doing things. Like,
Oh,
I'm
and he
gonna
was
stay
more on the
away.
straight and narrow with, okay, I see. And so you guys, how long had it been that you hadn't been talking at this point?
About 2 months.
Okay.
So I was about like 8 weeks pregnant when I found out.
Okay. So relatively early in the
Mhm.
pregnancy. Okay.
So then
So you called Josh.
I called Josh and I told him like, hey, like I took a test and I'm pregnant. And I'm saying it very nonchalantly. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, oh, I want to get rid of it. And
Mhm.
I was like, are you on board with me? Like, I wanted to make sure that we were on the same page. And he was like, yeah. And he actually was throwing up on the phone. Like,
Oh my
the news
gosh.
just like made him like throw up.
Is he your same age? Was he older,
He
younger?
was about 2.5 years older than me. So I was
Okay.
17 and I was turning 18 though. So he was 20.
Now, let me ask this. Not that it matters. I'm just curious. If you hadn't been talking for 2 months at that point, what made you feel like you wanted to call and share the news with him?
My mom had told me, so I missed that part after my mom found out that. So when I took the test, I went into my room and she was like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "I'm pregnant. Are you happy?" And I threw the test at her,
Mm.
and she was like, "You need to call the dad and tell him like you can't just do this on your
Yeah.
own." And I was like, "I don't even want this baby." Like it was a whole commotion
Of
between me and my
course.
mom. But I was also high at the time, so like I was very
Okay.
like not in the right state of mind. And so I called because my mom told me like I should call. So I
Mhm.
did it like kind of in the room all by myself. And when I did that, he was just like, I mean, like I said, he was vomiting like when I told him the
Mhm.
news. And then I told him, "Don't worry, like I'm gonna get rid of it." And he was like, "You're gonna have an abortion." And I was like, "Yes." He's like, "I'll help you pay for it." So he was on board with
Okay.
everything. And I remember that night, my stepbrother was visiting us from California, and he's about a year older than me, but he kind of had a idea of what was going on with me, like what I was doing.
Mhm.
So he had went like searched my whole room, grabbed all my stuff and flushed it down the toilet.
Mhm.
And that night I remember going into the bathroom and staring at the toilet, and I was so like out of my mind, and so just like I wanted to figure out how to get that stuff out of the toilet.
Mhm.
So I like turned the water off. I came out with like a wrench. Like I thought I was going
Wow.
to take apart the toilet, and I sat there on the floor with like water everywhere and like realized like holy crap, like I'm trying to take a toilet apart right now. Like,
Mhm.
is this where my life has gotten to? Like, this is
Yeah.
what I want. Like, I'm willing to do all of this for drugs. Like,
Right.
that's crazy. And so as like the come down started happening, I stayed up all night, but then I finally fell asleep. And when I woke up, I texted Josh and I said, "Meet me at the park. Like, meet me at our spot." Like, we were friends prior, so he already knew like where we would meet at. So he met me at the park, and I remember walking down the street, and I was in a big hoodie and I had glasses on because I was coming down at that time. And I remember seeing him, and he's like, "What's going on? Like, do you need the money right now?" And I was like, "I'm not gonna have the abortion." And he's like, "Why?" And I
So this
started
wasn't even 24 hours later that you
this
had this realization. Wow.
wasn't even 24 hours later. And I remember taking off my hood, taking my glasses off and being like, "Look at me." And he's like, "Yeah, you look like crap." And I was like, "Exactly." I said, "I'm high, like I'm coming down right now." And I said, don't want to I don't want to do this. Like I don't want this to be my life. And if I don't have this baby, I'm going to continue and I'm not going to stop, and it's
Mhm.
going to ruin my life, and you don't have to be a part of it. You don't have to agree with it, but like I'm going to have this baby because I want my life back. And even if that means of having a baby helps me, then that helps me. And
I have to say, at 17 years old, because you were 17 when this happened,
mhm.
that is pretty courageous and admirable to have come to that realization on your own and realize like this baby will essentially save my life. It will stop me from using, and to have that determination too within 24 hours just while you're coming down. That's pretty incredible because
Thank
even grown
you.
adults don't have that, you know?
I come from a family of addicts, and so like I've seen it. I've seen the lifestyle of it, and for like I didn't want that for myself. And I sit there and I replay that night all the time, like because like you said, like a 17-year-old doing that, like normally they don't care. They're very
No.
selfish. I was very
They
proud
think
of
they know
myself.
everything. Yeah, you should be. You should be incredibly proud of yourself.
Thank you.
Did your mom know when you that you had been using leading up to this?
No, well, she had an idea because there were moments that like within that 2 months, like I had ran away. I had tried because my mom found out I was doing drugs, and she was like, "You need to stop." And of course, like, just teenager, like, no. So
Yeah, you think you know everything.
I would
Yeah.
run away to people's not run away to people's houses that like she knew. And bad thing was is like those parents knew I was doing that, and they just let it happen. So I
Mm.
knew this would become like just a cycle.
Yeah.
And living in a small town, it's sometimes it could be good, sometimes it could be bad just because everybody knows each other, and then you
Mhm.
know who you can get away with things with.
Absolutely. So you tell Josh, I'm not going forward with the termination. I want to keep this baby. I'm going to get clean, and you can be as involved as you want or as little as you want. And what was his
Yes.
response to that?
He said that he would support me and he would be here for me. And I remember at the very end, he gave me a hug and he like kissed my forehead. And I said, "But there's one stipulation." And he said, "What?" And I said, "We are not together." I said, "I do not want you to pity me and be with me because I'm having your baby. If
Wow.
you do decide to be with me, I want it to be later down the line because you want to be with me. I don't
Mhm.
want you to feel like I put you in a situation that you're stuck in." So for the long, it's funny because like for like 5 months, I refused to call him my boyfriend. So people would be like, "Oh, your boyfriend." I'd be like, "He's not my boyfriend. He's just the father of
Just
my
a
child."
hard-headed woman. I respect it. I love it. So what was that like then in the couple of months after you decide we're going to keep this baby, we're going to, maybe rekindle, see where this goes. How often were you two speaking? How challenging was it to get clean? How were those first few months?
They were very it was a struggle. It really was. I came clean to like my OB. I told them I was very open. Um so I told them, I have been using I'm stopping, and I'm feeling I was like 106 pounds. Like I was very, very
Wow.
little. I'm normally like 130. So that's just like what the drugs did to me. And so it was basically just trying to build up like my nutrition. I smoked cigarettes a lot too, but I was having like a lot of panic attacks and anxiety. So they told me like basically like take a cigarette and like take a couple hits and then put it out and keep doing that throughout the day until you start to like wean yourself off, because like weaning yourself off meth and also like being pregnant can sometimes just, I guess, like just shock your body.
Mm-hmm.
So they were very helpful with teaching me like how to do that. And within like a week or two, like I was fine.
Okay.
I feel like I started to gain weight. I got my friends back. Like a lot of my friends that I had become like the ones I was going like out like on quads and like going to Country Thunder with, and they had taken like they left me
Yeah.
because I was obviously going down a different path than they were. And so they came back and they were here to support me,
That
and
probably felt really good.
it really did. I still worked at Jack in the Box too, and my coworkers, even if they were doing something, they were very supportive of me. And I kind of just lived. I was in high school, so I was a senior. I did drop out. It was just really overwhelming, like coming off of everything and like
Mm-hmm.
getting to classes. So I took myself out of high school and I ended up getting my GED. But I still continued to work and I kind of just stayed to myself, to be honest. I had like maybe 4 or 5 friends that I talked to,
Mm-hmm.
but that's what I needed. Like I
Yeah.
needed to get myself out of everything in order to feel like confident that I wasn't going to use again.
And just have a tight circle,
hmm
close knit. And your mom, I would imagine, was very supportive through all of
My
this.
mom was very supportive through this
That's
whole
great.
thing. My mom was my best friend. My mom had to believe it or not, when they say you follow your parents' footsteps, my mom had the exact same thing at 17 years old. She was doing meth and she found out she was pregnant with me and she
Oh
got
my
clean and sober.
gosh.
So I almost wonder self-conscious, like if I did that because like my mom did that
Yeah,
and
you knew
I
her
saw the
story.
courage. I saw
Mhm.
like that she could do it, and it was like, if she can do it, like I can do it.
Yeah,
If
if
she
she
can.
did it for me, I could do it for my child.
Exactly. So it was like a
Wow.
full circle moment. So I think her moment was like, I'm so proud of you. Like, and me and my mom were really close, even though if people ask in high school, like we fought a lot.
Of course, I mean that's typical when when you're a girl and you're in high school. That's the same with me and my mom. I ran with the bad crowd too. Made a lot. It was very similar in that regard. And I always thought I knew better than anybody else. And I remember you had mentioned earlier how you like threw the pregnancy test at her and how you were mad. You're like, why are you going through my things? And my dad had once told me a saying that sticks with me to this day: fear generates anger. So that if you're scared or paranoid in that moment, or you're scared of what's happening and getting caught, you lash out at the ones who love you the most, and it just generates anger. So I think that I would argue that most girls' high school experiences were similar in the sense that they maybe didn't see eye to eye with their mom all the time.
That's good. Yeah, I've noticed that too, and especially being a mom now. Like I
Yeah.
have 3 kids, so I've
Do you have any girls?
I have one daughter. She's my youngest, but man, like she's 8 going on 16 right now. So
You're going to be in for it.
I know I'm going to be in for it.
Oh my gosh. So, okay, so the first few months of pregnancy, you have your tight circle, everybody's supportive, you're getting healthy, you have weaned yourself off of drugs. And then when did you and Josh start reconciling in a bigger way and spending more time together?
So I feel like once I hit like 6 months, give or take, like he was working on, it's called we call it the Zabawa farm. It's just because like Maricopa, basically think of like a big circle, and there's only 2 ways out of our town. So you have the Casa Grande Highway, which takes like 25 minutes, and then you have the 347, which takes like 25 minutes. So you're stuck. And then you have this one road that takes you like the farmland.
Okay.
So he lived out there. And there was he had friends that owned like the farm. So he worked out there. And I remember it was, they called it picking season because it was, they would pick cotton in the season. And so I remember he would work constantly, like literally day and night. So I remember when I started to like kind of allow him to be more part of my life, he would come and like see me for like 10 minutes and then have to go back to work. So
Oh, wow.
it was constantly like I didn't see him for like a couple weeks, and it was just like that. And then my dad also wasn't very inviting. He was like, no,
Mhm.
like I don't want to meet him. So all the time my dad had rules like you can go outside and talk to him, but he's not welcome in our house. So like I'd have to like
And
walk.
why was that? Because he had more of a calm background, right? Josh did?
To a sense, yes, but my dad was just very, very strict.
Okay.
I'm full Hispanic, and so I come from the Mexican household, and I'm the only girl, and so
Oh.
things were just. I hate to say it, but I feel like most Mexican women can say this. Like you're treated differently. The daughter is always treated. It's always more strict. Like the boys can kind of do whatever they want, and they can.
And your dad's just more protective
My
over
dad's
you.
way more protective over me. And so like it just was like that. And he did not like the fact that I mean, he still couldn't come to terms that I was pregnant.
Mhm.
So it was
Yeah.
like, Dad, I'm 6 months now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But after a while, I remember my dad, so after like that picking season, I think we hit whenever this There was a football game in Arizona, and my dad had let me invite Josh. That was my dad's
Oh,
first time, like, meeting him,
okay.
and it happened to be with, like, all of our family, so he got to, like, go out to, like, a family event with all of us, and
How was
then
that?
it was fun. It really was. It was fun.
And did your dad like him? Did they get along?
My dad doesn't trust everybody.
Okay.
I'll tell you this right now. I got married in 2020, and I'm actually I don't even know if my dad would have actually gave the okay. Like, he's still like, "I'm not sure if I trust him." And I'm like,
Okay.
"Dad, it's been 15 years."
You're always gonna be daddy's little
I'm
girl.
always gonna yes. So for the most part, like, they have a good relationship now, but my dad was always very weary of guys, and I think it was just being very protective. So I don't think my dad really, like, was inviting of Josh until the incident happened to me, because
Okay.
that was more of like a
Everybody kind of came
everybody came
together.
in together, yeah, but
Okay.
before that, it was like a so he met him that one time, and then it was like, "Okay, like, I'm good. I don't need to talk to him again."
Okay. But he's like aware of what's going on,
Yes.
who Josh is. So, around what month of your pregnancy did you meet your new friend who you bonded over
Yeah,
pregnancy
so
with?
friend-wise, like, I think I told you, like, I had, like, my group of friends. There was probably about, like, 4 or 5 of them that, like, were in my inner circle, and nobody could really relate to me. Nobody was pregnant at that time. We maybe had, like, maybe 2 other girls that had babies, like, earlier, but for the most part, like, nobody was pregnant, so I didn't really have anyone to talk to and, like, relate to me, and everybody else it was senior year, so all my friends that like, they all were in high school. They were all doing the senior things,
Mhm,
like senior
activities.
prank and, homecoming and
Yeah.
prom and, like, just all these different things that I kinda missed out on, and so my friend Hannah, she had called me one day, and she was like, "Hey, I met this girl, her name is Cassandra, she's pregnant and she's just
Oh,
like you. She just moved to our town. I thought maybe you would like to meet up with us. I told her about you and I thought you guys would kind of hit it off." And I was like,
that's
yeah.
great. Somebody like-minded going through something similar. And how did Hannah know Cassandra?
Hannah had met Cassandra, and I actually just found this out because I've never asked her, but I guess she met her like just like at a friend's house, like a kickback. I guess because
Okay.
so I don't know
It's
too
so
much of
funny you say the word kickback
kickback.
because literally I was recording an episode yesterday and I was talking about like it wasn't a house party, it was a small gathering. When I was in school, we used to call it a kickback where it's like 10 or 15 people.
Yes, yes, the kickbacks. It's funny. I told whenever I tell my 15-year-old now, like, some terminologies that we use, they're like, "Huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's a kickback.
Yeah.
Like, there's not too many people there. You can't call it a house party,
Yeah,
but
but it's not
enough."
just like a close circle friend to okay, so they were at a
Yes.
kickback and
They
they
were at a
met each
kick
other.
Yeah, they met each
Okay.
other. I don't know too much about, like, the backstory of that. I think what happened, from what I understand, is that Cassandra moved to Maricopa, and somehow she met, like, other friends of ours, and she kinda had this story that, like, her sister lived out there, but she had the story that she had, like, nowhere to live. So at
Okay.
some point, she lived with one of my friends named Sebastian, and I
While
guess
she was pregnant.
while she was pregnant, and so I don't know the too much of the dynamic of that, but I do know that Hannah met her there, and so Hannah was like, "Oh," like, Hannah was one of the teen moms that, like, had a baby early, so she had
Oh,
a baby, like, a year and a half, 2 years prior, and so she was like, "Oh, like, I have a son, but, like, I know what it's like to be pregnant and alone, like, let me introduce you to my friend Angelique." And so she
mhm.
was like, "Oh, yeah, I would love to love to meet her." And I wanna say that Cassandra asked, like, if there was anybody that was pregnant, and lo and behold, I was the only one.
Yeah.
So,
Small town. Yep, not
small town, so
okay. So tell me about your first time meeting Cassandra and what made you two click with one another.
so Hannah had picked me up and we went to Chandler. So Chandler was about like a 25-30 minute drive, and we went to it's like right off the I-10. It's a Denny's. And I remember Hannah picked me up and Cassandra was in the car also. So we had talked a little bit before we got there. Once we got there, we kind of just like hit it off, and I feel like we were able to connect and just relate on each other, like, oh, like morning sickness, or my back hurts, or I'm getting
Mhm.
a lot of heartburn, like, I heard that means that they have a lot of hair. Like, it was just really nice to be able to talk to somebody, and I felt really good about it. Like, it
Yeah.
felt it felt really good. I didn't think anything weird or anything was wrong.
And
And
was she similar in terms of her how far along she was?
so I think at that moment, I met her like the end of November, maybe beginning of December-ish, and I was about 6 months and she was about 3 months,
Okay.
3 to 4 months.
But still, so you're relating on the symptoms you guys are going through, probably being like, how was your first trimester? Here's what mine was like. And it felt nice to have someone that you could talk to and share those moments and experiences with.
Yes, it felt really nice. And like I said, nobody else could really relate to me on that. Like, except, my mom could tell me things from that, from my brothers and me. But it just, I don't know. I feel like as a pregnant woman, sometimes you feel like everything got taken away from you. You made this choice, but like everything got taken away from you and you feel alone. So it was just really, really nice. You see nowadays where people go onto mom groups and they want to get friends. And especially when you have a baby and you want somebody to like be there with you that has a child that's the same age as yours. Like it's kind of like the same thing. I felt like really relieved and I felt like, wow, I made a good friend. We
That's
even later on that day, we went to Babies R Us.
Mm-hmm.
And, we got that little gun and you like run around and start scanning
for the
things.
to register.
Exactly. So we both created our registries that day and
Oh my gosh.
we did like we just did like a little bit of things that we found. So that was really nice. And then after that, we went home and we exchanged, numbers. And at that time, socials was just like MySpace. And I think Facebook was just coming around. So like we exchanged like our Facebooks.
Okay.
And we honestly stayed in contact all the way until the incident. We
So
texted all the time.
How often would you see each other? You would text all the time. How often would you guys get together and see each other? Because at that point you said you were around 6 months. So you had, I guess, 3, but technically probably like 4 more months to go.
Yeah.
So how often would you guys get together and what would you do?
So we actually never got together after that.
Oh, you didn't? You would just talk via social media
Yeah.
and text message?
Just social media, just text message. I worked and I also just didn't, I don't know. It was really hard getting me out of the house. I felt I kind of self-isolated myself for a while just because there was no reason about it. Just like I felt I wanted to stay away from things. And she lived in a house that had kickbacks and she was living with our friend Sebastian. So like I just stayed away from there. But we talked all the time. She would fight with her. I do remember she has a husband. So that's one thing that was like very different. Obviously, like I had Josh. I think at that time I started to call Josh my boyfriend.
And was she your age?
She was 9 days younger than me.
Okay. And was this her first pregnancy as well?
This was her first pregnancy as well.
Okay, but she was married.
She was married. She dropped out, I believe, like her sophomore year or maybe even junior year.
Okay.
And so this guy, the story that she told us was like that she had been talking to this guy since she was like in like middle school. And so they had gotten married and she was having his baby. That was the whole reason. Like they got married because she was pregnant with his baby. But he lived in like Chandler, I believe, and she lived in Maricopa. So about a 35-minute like drive. And everybody knew about this guy. So everybody knew who Edwin was. Nobody had ever talked to him. Nobody had ever met him.
But they had heard about
They've
him.
heard about him. We would hear him on the phone. Like she was always talking to somebody in Spanish. So
Did anybody ever ask her, if you're married, yeah, I guess 35 minutes is kind of a drive, but not really. If you're married and if you're pregnant with his child, why aren't you guys living together? Why are you couch surfing and living at Sebastian's house?
So those were questions that like we asked, and I think I feel like she said that he was working and like his mom didn't like. She had like a story like
Okay.
along the lines of like he still lives with his mom, like she doesn't like her. I do know that like Cassandra's mom had passed away, which I did find out was like 100% true. She did pass away. The dad, I believe, lived in Mexico. And so she was supposed to be living with her sister in Maricopa. I don't know like what happened or why she never really opened up about like that situation.
Yeah, she was just kind of on her own.
She was kind of on her own. So
Okay.
she was just couch surfing because she would stay at Sebastian's and then she would stay at Hannah's. So she would kind of go back and forth.
Okay. So you guys would talk, you were friendly, you would share even through the upcoming months, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months. Here's how I'm feeling. How are you doing? Did you
Yes.
get your registry? Did you have a baby shower? Things like that?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I even invited her. So my baby shower was in February. I think I was due in March. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So it was very close to it. And she didn't go to your baby shower though.
She didn't. I invited her. She did sound like she was going to come and then she didn't. I didn't even notice that she didn't make it because I had so many people between
Yeah.
Josh and I, between our families. Like my whole house was filled. I was very, very blessed. Like I
Wow,
got double
that's
of things
great.
off my registry. Like It
You had
was
a
a
lot of
blessing.
support. That's
I
amazing.
and I it's crazy because I felt so alone, but
Mhm.
that day of my baby shower, I felt like, "Oh my gosh, all my friends, like,
They're showing up.
they're showing up just
Yeah.
because they couldn't." It was kinda one of those things where it was like, we're in high school, like, they have things that they're doing too, and that's kinda like why I wanted a friend because
Yeah.
we're in 2 different lifestyles at
You're
this
on
point.
this more like expedited adult grown up path while
Mhm.
everybody else is still having keg parties or going to tailgating at the football game. And so,
Yes, going to the high bridge.
yeah,
Yes,
so
everything.
it probably felt nice to finally be back and be like, okay, I'm not so different.
Yes.
It's not as isolating.
So it was really yeah, it was really nice.
Oh, good.
And then I realized she sent me a text message later that day and said, "Hey, I'm so sorry I wasn't feeling good. Like I wasn't able to make it, but I would love to like make it up to you."
Oh, okay.
And then I think that just I had my baby shower and then I want to say Valentine's Day happened on the 14th and then she messaged me on the 15th and was like, "Can I come over tomorrow? I have a baby shower gifts for you. Like I'm so
Okay.
sorry I wasn't able to make it, but I would love to spend a day with you if
Trying to
you."
make up for not being there.
Yes, and I actually specifically she wanted me to come to her. So
Oh,
she
okay.
did want me to come to her house, but I told her
At
I didn't.
Sebastian's?
Okay, sorry, I jumped ahead.
No, that's okay.
She had gotten kicked out of Sebastian's and she
Oh,
went back to live with her sister.
what did she get kicked out for?
So Sebastian, I never, and the funny thing is I never asked. I actually found out from one of the ID channels. They interviewed Sebastian, and I guess he just said that because she wasn't doing anything.
Oh,
Like
she was just kind of a deadbeat hanging around.
he called it squatting.
Okay. Okay, so she moves back in with her sister and she's like, I'm so sorry I couldn't make it to your baby shower. I want to make it up to you. I have gifts. Can you come
Mhm.
over? And at this point, did you feel like anything was off with her?
No, I didn't feel like anything was off. She was very I feel like I'm trying to figure out the words how to use it. I feel like she was very needy.
Okay.
Um,
And in how so? In the way of wanting to know where you're going, what you're doing, wanting to
yeah.
talk to you, having like ownership over your time?
It seemed like she always when she would text me, if I didn't text back right away, like she would be like, "Hey, like are you going to answer me? Like, hey, like I'm just checking on you." And I'd be like, "Oh, sorry, like I was in a doctor appointment," or "Hey, like sorry, I had work." Like,
How many text messages would you say she sent you a day?
mm, if I didn't answer, it was like just like a follow-up. So it
Okay.
wasn't crazy. It wasn't like a lot, like, 'cause she'd even go days without talking to me. So like it was
Okay.
just it was random. But when she would talk to me, like sometimes we get into like a texting conversation and we would, just go on. But if we were in like a conversation and I did not answer her back, like she'd be like, hey. And then she'd call
Okay.
me like, hey, I had that question. Can you answer it? And as a teenager, like it was annoying.
Totally, 100%. I get that. And would you guys talk on the phone as well or just mainly text message?
We would talk on the phone also, and then, like, she would post, like, baby like, this is when we first started kinda going into Facebook, so, like, I would post, like, my ultrasound pictures, and then, like, immediately after, she would post her ultrasound pictures, um, and then she'd be like, "Oh, like, my baby," like and she was I do know that, like, with m I didn't get to hang out with her too much, but all my other friends, like, got to meet her at at different kickbacks,
Yeah.
and they said, like, she just constantly always was like, "Oh, my baby," like, always talking about her
It was like her
baby.
whole world, her whole
It was her whole
life.
personality.
Okay.
Having
Okay.
this baby was her own like, her whole personality. She wanted everybody to know what she was naming the baby, "I'm having this, I'm having that," like,
Did she say
from
if she was having a boy or a girl?
she was having a boy, like
Okay.
yeah, so
Like
we're
you.
like me,
Okay.
yes. So we both kinda just I don't know, people like, Josh even met her once, actually, now that I think about it. He went to one of the kickbacks, I stayed home, and I remember Josh went to one and he came I think we met up the next day and he was like, "Hey, I met that girl Cassandra." He was like, "She's an odd one." And I was like, "Why?" He's like, "She just, like, talks a lot." And I was like,
Okay.
"Yeah." He's like, "And she's, like, obsessed with this baby. Like, she's so excited, but, like, where is this husband?" Like
Yeah.
so everybody started to have questions,
About
like
like what's the true story of like her husband, why she's living here, what's going
mhm.
on. Okay.
Yes, so everybody kinda but we're all 17, 18-year-olds that
Right.
we're all just like, like, nowadays, it's like, I'd be like, "Hmm," like
Now we're exposed to more darkness in the world.
exactly, and not that
Yeah.
much darkness was I mean, it was always there. Darkness has always been there. It
Yeah.
just was not there's no platforms, there was
Yep.
nothing we didn't talk about
The
this.
visibility wasn't there.
We were taught not to talk about our traumas.
Right.
So, like, think people didn't talk about these types of things. So,
Yeah.
we didn't ask and question stuff. And after that, it was that's when she came so she ended up asking if I can come to her house.
Uh-huh.
And I remember I was watching Grey's Anatomy with my mom and I was laying in bed with her. And I like sigh and she goes, "What?" And I was like, "My friend Cassandra." And she was like, "What?" And I was like, "Well, she didn't come to my baby shower." She's like, "Oh, are you upset?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "But she has these gifts and she wants me to go to her house." And I just am not feeling good. Like I haven't been feeling good. My pregnancy, we ended up finding out later I had preeclampsia. So
Oh,
it makes sense like why I'm not feeling good, but I don't know this at the time.
yeah.
So I'm just like explaining to my mom, like, I just don't have the energy. Like, and she's like, just invite her here. And I was like, oh,
And how many months pregnant were you at this point?
I was 9 months pregnant.
9 months. Okay. So you're like, I'm not going to go over there. It's too much. Like, I'm tired, which same. You couldn't pay me to get out of the house. So I get that. So then you're like, we'll invite her over to our house and she can bring the gifts. We can catch
hang out.
up. We can see each other again and it'll be great.
Exactly.
Okay. So walk us through the day that Cassandra came over, just at the very beginning of it.
So Cassandra had texted me and said, I'm going to be getting dropped off. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I sent her my address. And my brother it was like 9 in the morning. And my brother answered the door. And it was February 16th.
Sunny, cold, rainy.
It was sunny.
Okay.
It's always sunny.
Yeah, true. It's Arizona. Hello. I don't even know why I
No, we
asked
do.
that.
We do have monsoon season, but it's
So 9 a.m. on a what weekday?
so I don't even remember. To be
Okay.
quite
So 9
honest.
a.m. sunny, and she's coming over for the
Yes.
day. Okay. So your brother opens the door.
My brother opens the door and she's being dropped off by a man in like this white van. And that's all my brother saw was like a white van. And I'm 10 years older than him. So he would have been 8 years old at this time.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Okay.
So
And did you have any other plans that day? Was she going to come over for just a little bit of time? Was she just going to come over indefinitely and you guys were just going to hang, or what was the plan?
There was like no plan. It was just like, hey, like if you want to come over and hang out with me, like I'll be home with my family. And she was like, yeah, like I would love that.
Okay.
So she came over with I had no expectations of like what was going to happen.
Yep.
Um,
And who was at the house in addition to you and your 8-year-old brother?
so my 8-year-old brother was there and my 13-year-old brother was there. And then my mom was there. My dad was at work.
Okay.
So it was just us there. So my brothers, myself, and my mom. And she had walked in. She had this like big diaper bag with her. It was a really big diaper bag. And she said that all the gifts were in there. And I remember my mom asked, like, oh, do you want me to take that bag? She was like, no, I got it. And we were like, okay. And she was like, well, I want to show you the gifts later. Like, I want to talk with you and hang out. And I was like, yeah, that's totally
Yeah.
fine. So she puts the bag like away, like in the front room. And she just hangs out with us all day. And to be quite honest, like, we didn't do too much. It was mainly just like, I remember like we migrated from like the kitchen table to like the couch. And we just started talking about like, just like certain things. We had spent a lot of the day. This is like when Teen Mom was coming, like when
Oh, yeah.
like the OGs were coming out. Like I remember watching like Kale on and,
Yeah.
just like Janelle, all of them on. And, we were talking about all the drama between them. And at one point it went to a commercial break and she started asking like questions about like certain things, like she started asking questions about birth. And we were making a joke because
What kind of questions?
so we lived about 40 minutes away from the nearest hospital. So she would be like, what would happen if like we went into labor? And I'm like, what do you mean? She was like, well, what would happen? Like we live so far away from a hospital. Like I was like, oh, we would probably just go to the hospital.
Yeah, or call 911 or
Call
do whatever.
911
Yeah.
or something. My mom was like, it doesn't happen like, so my mom jumped in and was like, it doesn't happen like the movies say. Like
Yeah.
sometimes it could happen like that, but everybody's different. Normally, you don't just have the baby.
Right.
Like once you start getting your contraction. So my mom's like kind of going into detail.
So your mom was very much involved in this hangout session. She was
Yes.
around.
She was around the whole day.
Okay, and what time of day was this now?
This was probably about like 10:30, 11. So earlier,
Okay.
she got dropped off about 9.
So it's been a couple hours. You've
It's
all
been a
been
few
hanging
hours.
out, just talking, catching up, watching TV now.
Mhm.
And your mom's been there. Your brothers are there. Okay.
Yes. My brothers are in their room. And so my mom is just outside. My mom tends to hang out with me and my friends. So,
Hey, I love that.
so she would, she just basically stayed the whole day with us, just talking and everything like that. And then that's when they were talking about like, the births.
Mhm.
But then she was like, well, what happens if we need a C-section? My mom was like, what do you mean? She was, because my mom kept on saying like, what do you mean? Like needing her to kind of explain a little bit more. She was like, well, how, like, what would happen? Like, what if you needed an emergency C-section? My mom was like, oh, like same thing. You'd go to the hospital. It's not just like you need a C-section. They're going to cut you open like in your house. Like
Yeah.
all of this is done like, at a hospital.
There's a protocol for it.
Yes. And then she looks at my mom and she goes, wait, have you had a C-section? And my mom goes, yeah, I had a C-section with Angelique's youngest brother, Isaac. And she goes, oh, how was it? She was like, oh, like they give you like medicine. You don't feel everything. It's scary, but it's, my mom just kind of goes into detail of like what the C-section felt like.
Yeah.
And I remember this is like where she became very intrigued into the conversation. And she was like, well, how far do they cut? Like, do they cut up and down or do they cut side to side? And my mom was like, they cut side, like from side to side. And she
Was
was,
anything going off in your mind of like, why are you asking so many fucking questions? Or like, what's going on here? Or were you just kind of like, oh, maybe she doesn't have like her mom her mom had passed. Maybe she just hasn't had anybody teach her this stuff.
I honestly didn't think anything of it because
Okay.
I felt like they were really, I mean, to be quite honest, like me and my mom hadn't even had the
So
conversations
you
of
were curious
C-section.
too to hear the answers.
I was curious to hear the answer because
Okay.
like we all don't want to have a C-section. Like you
Right.
hear of these things, but like I don't want to be cut open.
Yeah.
So I remember sitting there and I was just like, listening and kind of just like watching my mom. My mom kind of took role in it. Like she took control of the whole conversation with Cassandra when it came to the C-section. And I just kind of observed everything. But I didn't think anything. There was a part of me that just felt like everything was weird, to be honest. But like I do talk about that with my mom after the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom's telling her, like, no, you go from side to side. And Cassandra goes, oh, okay. She literally stands up, lifts her shirt up, and goes, can you show me?
Oh my gosh.
And my mom goes, I mean, like mine? And my mom was like, you can't see where mine is at. Like, she's like, you have to understand, like, your belly gets big and they cut and then it goes, and then like when obviously your belly goes back down and like, I'm not going to show you my scar. She goes, but like from there, like around there. And Cassandra goes like this, like she literally has her shirt up like this and she's just like looking. And I'm just like, then I started to feel eerie at that time. And then she started asking more questions like, well, what happens if the baby's not breathing? And my mom goes, oh, they get the moco sucker. And she goes, what's that? And she goes, like the little bulb. It's a bulb and they put it in the baby, like in the mouth, and they start suctioning out like whatever there is in there. And she was like, oh, I've never seen one. And I'm like, you never seen one? Like, I feel like everybody has seen like this, like, blue bulb that they give you.
I feel like we used to have it when we were younger that they would use for like if you even rinsing out your ears or like your nose.
Or doing like the cleanse things.
Yeah. So what do you? I forget what that's called. Where you like shoot the water up and it comes down the other side. It comes down the other way.
Is it a kettle thing?
Something like that. But basically, for anybody who doesn't understand what it is, it's like very 90s, but it's like baby blue, if I remember. And the bulb is probably the size of not a tennis ball, a little bit smaller than that. And then it has like the big, like, whatever you would call it, like almost like it looks like a turkey baster kind of, but way smaller.
That is perfect. That is, yes, that's exactly what it looks like.
And they use it as a suction tool.
They use it as a suction tool. And you get sent home with those from the hospital to use to like get the boogers, like we call them mocos, but boogers. And so, yeah, she was very confused about it. And she asked me, did I get one for my baby shower? And I was like, oh, yeah, I got one. She was like, oh, remind you, my baby shower was like 3 days prior, I think. So we're 16th, 15th, 14th. It was the day before, like, I want to say it was like the day before Valentine's Day or something, whatever that weekend was is when my baby shower was. And I had not gone through my gifts. There were so many. It was so overwhelming. My whole couch, like I had an L couch. The whole back of the couch was filled.
Wow.
It was so much. And so I hadn't even tried to go through them yet. And she wanted me to dig through them and to go find it for her. And I was like, no.
And what was her explanation? She just had never seen one. She wanted to know what it looked like. So she's like, oh, did you get one? I want to see it. I've never seen it.
And then she went back. I told her I didn't want to. I was like, I'm not going to go look through that. And she was like, I'll go look. And she like got up and I was like, I got a better idea. My laptop's right here. Let me show you what it looks like on Google because like good luck trying to find them in there.
Yeah.
Like I have no idea what bag it's in. And I literally like pull it up for her on Google and she goes, oh, okay. And I was like, yeah. I was like, they use it for like the boogers. Like that's what, I'm pretty sure that's what you get sent home with, but I'm not an expert on it. So I don't know. And that did make me feel a certain way. I remember after that, I still hadn't talked to my mom at that point, like alone. Then my mom's, so it started to hit lunchtime. So my mom was like, let me make you guys some food. We have leftover carne asada and chicken and, let me make you guys some food and you guys can sit down and eat. So we went and we sat down and we started to eat, like she was making us food and we started to get into other conversations just about like our life and stuff like that. I think at one point we asked her like about her mom and she kind of told us that like her mom passed away from breast cancer and she told us like how, encouraged, like how much like pain her mom was in. And it was really sad, honestly. Like she cried, I cried, my mom cried. Like it was just a really sad moment because, she was like, I wish like my mom could be here to like be with me and like go through this with me. She was like, you're so lucky like to have a mom. And then things started to like take a turn, not like a turn, but I started to feel, this is when I started to really feel certain ways with her because she started to like mimic my life. So like I would say something like, for an example, I got arrested for for hitting my mom. Me and her got into a fight. It wasn't like a really bad altercation, but I did like get in trouble. And so I got arrested for it. And all of a sudden, like she had the exact same story.
Huh.
And it was like to a T though. Like it was almost exactly like it. Or, when I was like 14, like I jumped out my Nana's window and ran away for like a week. And like she was like, oh my gosh, I did the exact same thing. Like I went and it was just everything was
Like
to a T.
mirroring everything.
She was mirroring everything that I did, everything, like anything that we talked about that we were joking about from like when I was younger. She had the exact same story.
Had she done that in the past when you guys were texting and talking, or was this more amplified now that she was at your house?
This is way more amplified.
Okay.
The way I was feeling at my house wasn't the same way like I felt like throughout our whole conversations.
So you felt that something was off. Were you feeling scared, or were you feeling more like, this girl feels like a stalker, like a weirdo?
Annoyed. I thought she
Annoyed,
was
okay.
weird. I thought
Okay.
she was weird, but then she would stop and then she would just go back to like, thank you guys so much. Like you guys are such like great people. Like the hospitality, like I wish my family was more welcoming like this. So like she kind of she played with my like with my heartstrings for it. Like
Yeah.
she kept on like trying to like it made me feel uneasy, but then she was like reeling me back into
And
like
like, oh, this
reality.
poor girl, like she just needs
Yes.
someone to care for her.
Yes. And there was this one thing that kept happening. She kept having somebody call her and she would talk to them in Spanish. And my mom understands Spanish. Unfortunately, we don't. They just didn't pass it on. They just didn't teach us. But my mom understands Spanish. So like she would hear her talk. And I think at one point there was a joke that was made and she giggled. And she looked at my mom and was like, you understand Spanish? And she was like, yeah, like I understand. Like I don't speak fluently. And she was like, oh. So then like all her conversations started happening everywhere. Like she would like, every time a phone call would come in, she would leave the room and she would go somewhere else to have this conversation.
Oh, wow. I'm just making notes as we're talking because I want to come back to that.
Yeah. So that was really odd and weird. But at the same time, I'm gonna kind of reel that back in. It's weird hindsight 2020.
Yeah.
But at that moment, think about us. Like if I'm in an important conversation, you speak English, I speak English. I maybe don't want you to hear what's going on. So I'm
You
gonna
step
take
away.
I'm gonna take the conversation in a different room.
Uh-huh.
So I just thought, oh, okay, like whatever's going on, she needs privacy
private,
for.
yeah.
Yes. So she went to go take her phone call. And I remember doing dishes with my mom. And I looked at her and I said, what do you think about her, Mom? She goes, oh, she's nice. And I said, you don't think she's weird? Like, I think she's weird. And she was like, well, why do you think she's weird? I said, I feel like she's like mimicking me. Like she like wants my life. I don't know. I was like,
Mhm.
I'm just getting this weird like feeling about her that like I don't know if like things are being made up and she was like, Angelique, like, I understand. She goes, you need to understand though, like she doesn't have a mom. She's new to a town. She probably feels like uneasy even being here.
Yeah.
Like you can tell that she's a good person. And I think she just really wants to be your friend. And I think you're doing a great thing by like being her friend and being there for her. So my mom kind of made me, as a mom would bring me down from like how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And I thought like, oh, Angelique, you're being a bitch. Like you're kind of just being a mean girl now. Like, so I felt like, okay, I need to take a step back and realize that this girl has gone through a lot in her life. And maybe she doesn't have a mom or a dad. And she's kind of like, obviously whatever's going on in her life, this husband of hers isn't like amazing. They
Yeah.
fight all the time.
She's lost a little bit.
She's a lost soul is kind of
Mhm.
like how I saw it. So I was like, okay, not every friendship is perfect. And maybe she's not going to be like my best friend or like somebody super close, but I can be friendly with her. So that's how my mindset was like continuing the rest of the day.
Okay. So then walk me through the rest of the day. What happened after lunch?
So then she wanted to ask, that time she asked me if I would go for a walk with her. So when she returned back from talking to somebody, she was like, so I saw that there was a park down the street. She was like, do you want to go for a walk? And I was like, oh no, girl. Like I just ate. Like I don't feel good. Like I'm 9 months pregnant. Like
yeah, I'm not going for a walk to the park.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to do that. I just don't want to. And she was like, oh, like it'll be really nice. She kept trying to push me to do it. And I was like, I don't want to. And I feel like at that time, we went back to the couch. And at that point, I started to like fake yawn.
To like hopefully get her the hint to be like, time for you to go.
Time for you to leave. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like it was, even though my mom made me feel better, like I was done hosting.
Yeah.
Like at that point, I really was tired.
Yeah, no, I believe it. Tapped
But,
out. Yeah, that's
I
a lot.
I was tapped out. Like I wanted to stop. So then I just started like fake yawning. And then I was like, oh, like I'm so tired. And she was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like my sister, I don't have a key to the house. My sister's not going to be home till later tonight. I hope it's okay that I stay here. And then I was like, darn it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, okay.
You're all sure. You're all, can I just go in my room though and close the door and
Yeah.
like go to sleep?
Like, can you and my mom hang out
Yeah.
and just let me know what happened and I'll be back?
Yeah.
So then I was like, crap, okay, Angelique, put your big girl pants on. You still have to host. Like, let's now watch more Teen Mom.
Yeah.
So we started watching more TV, but she had asked me again if I would go, like, wanted to go for another walk. And I was like, no, I really don't want to. Then she tried to bribe me into coming to her house. She goes, well, I can make you cookies. And I was like, I don't like cookies. And she
Wait,
was
I'm
like,
I thought you didn't have a key.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Actually, now that you're saying, I've never even thought about that. Now that you're saying that, that is a full circle that I've never even thought about. But yeah, she kept on trying to get me, what if we go back to my house? Or like, I can make you like, your favorite meal, your favorite dish. Like, and I was like, no, I'm full.
Girl, I'm here. My mom just made food for us. Like, get out of my face.
Like, what is
yeah.
going, like, you're going
She's trying to get you alone.
She's trying to get me alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think she anticipated my whole family being home the whole day. So
Yeah.
that's why it felt like, now looking back, she kept, there were points where she kept trying to get me to leave, but I kept shutting it down. And at some point she finally took the hint, like, we're not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's about, I really think we just sat on the couch for like hours, to be honest, because I can't
Yeah.
really remember. There was nothing else that stood out to me except for watching TV the whole day. And then it started to hit like 4 o'clock. And at 5, I think, is like my brother's football practices.
Okay.
So I do remember my mom saying like, hey girls, like, we have football practice. Like, we're going to go to Pecana. I know, Cassandra, you've talked about like going for a walk. Like, Angelique, what do you think? Like, what if I just take you guys to the park and you guys can go for like a small walk? If you feel tired, I'll bring you back home. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, you know what? I could do that. Like, I'm feeling better now. Like, I'm not full. Like, let's go for a walk. Like, Cassandra, do you want to go do that? Like, since you've
been pushing for it.
yeah, you've been pushing to get out.
Yeah.
And she was like, you know what? I don't feel good. Is it okay if we just stay here? And I was like, that is fine. Mom,
Yeah.
she's not, we're just trading places now. Like,
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from because I felt like that earlier. So I was like, Mom, you know what? You guys go ahead. We're going to stay home. Cassandra, want me to do your nails? Like, I have some, new nail polishes. And she was like, that'd be great. So my mom left and I
And she
started.
with both your brothers.
She took both my brothers. They both had
Okay.
football
So now
practice.
it is just you and Cassandra in the house.
It is now just me and Cassandra at the house. It's about 5:30-ish.
Okay.
And I pull out like all my nail stuff. I have like my filing stuff. And I sit there and I'm starting to like file my nails. And then she goes, your gifts. And at this point, my parents had, like, my mom left, everybody was gone. And she was like, your gifts, I want to give you your gifts. And I was like, oh, forgot about those things. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't even, like, that's the whole point, that like the reason why she came.
Yeah.
But I completely honestly forgot. I'm doing my nails and she tells me about the gifts. So I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and do these gifts. She pulls out my chair from my kitchen and puts it in the middle of my kitchen and goes, okay, sit in the chair, turn around and close your eyes. And I'm like,
Like she was going to surprise you with them
yes.
or something.
And I was
Okay.
like, oh, okay. And so like I'm in the middle of my kitchen. I'm sitting in a chair just like this. And I'm sitting there like this with my back turned to her. And one by one, she would come up and then she would like come over my head and like a gift would get dropped in my lap. And so like I would get the gift and I would open it and it would be like a baby onesie. And then again, she would come back, drop something else in my lap, a newborn, like a blanket.
This is so weird.
So weird.
Okay, like who does this? If I was just sitting in the middle of my kitchen and my friend was like, I'm just gonna drop a gift one by one in your lap from behind, I'm like, what game is this?
That is what I mean though. Like when people ask me, like they're like, well, what do you mean she was weird? I'm like, you don't
This is weird.
It's weird. Like
It's
weird.
nice, but it's weird.
It's weird. Like, and I don't know, like, like when you were in high school and you were just like, you're a weirdo.
Yeah.
Like it didn't necessarily mean that you're gonna come kill me. It just meant like you're a weirdo.
Yeah.
Like you only know what that terminology is if you used it before.
Exactly.
And this was just a weird moment. But I will say the gifts were coming. Like the gifts were coming. Like they were.
Girl, I was gonna say no.
And I remember opening it, but when I opened it, I remember taking like a big whiff of it, and like it just reeked like cologne, like a man.
The onesie did.
All of it did. Like the
Oh.
onesie, the newborn blanket, the receiving blanket. There was like a pajama set.
Did they have tags on them? Were they
No.
wrapped? So
They were just wrapped.
like wrapped Not
In
like in it's
like in tissue paper.
okay, so even the blankets, the
Blankets.
blankets, they weren't in like, you know how sometimes they come in like a plastic zipper case type thing. They weren't in anything. They didn't have the cardboard on the corners.
Nothing.
Nothing.
So I had instantly come to the conclusion that they were all hand-me-downs, which
Okay.
my mom had taught me that you don't throw a fit. You just take
Exactly.
what you get and
Yep.
you be happy about it. You don't say anything. Even if you don't like it, you
just
pretend
be
like
grateful.
you
Yeah.
be grateful for what you get.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I was raised and that's how I took it. So I am sitting here thinking in my head, like, what is going on? But like they're gifts. They are real things that are happening.
Yeah.
And it just kept, it felt like it was in slow motion though, because it just felt like she was walking and then dropping it in my lap. And then like I would open it and I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. Thank you. She goes, okay, I'm going with the next one.
Would you turn around and say thank you to her and like do it, or
Mm-mm.
you would just stay with your back to her and be like, oh my God, this is so cute. Thank you. And then just kind of like wait for the next one?
Yes. And then just sit there and it felt like slow-mo, but I mean, she was coming to the point periodically, like where I was able, like the gifts were just coming
How
and
many
coming.
gifts were there?
1, 2. So there was a baby blanket. There was a baby blanket. There was a receiving blanket. There was a newborn onesie. There was a pajama set. There was booties, a beanie. That might have been it.
And they were all individually wrapped.
All individually wrapped.
Okay, so 6 different gifts that are getting dropped on your lap
Mm-hmm.
one after another.
One after another.
Okay. So then what was
Then-
the last gift?
So there was actually like 2 last gifts. So I remember turning around. So after I got the last one, I turned around and I kind of like turned this way, like where my body was on the side. And I was like where I could see her. And I was like, thank you so much. Like, these are all so cute. Like, I really appreciate it. And she goes, wait. I also have something else for you. And I was like, okay. So she reaches into the bag and she pulls out like a baby, like a baby wearing,
Oh, like a baby Bjorn type, like
yes, but
the
they weren't-
carrier.
yeah, a baby carrier.
Okay.
So when I say baby carrier, everybody thinks I'm talking about like a baby, like
a car
like
seat
a car
thing?
seat. Yeah,
The one you wear on your body, like a
Yes.
front backpack.
exactly. And if you were back in 2011, we didn't have what everybody else has. There's so many cute brands. It was just like generic, you
Yeah.
know. It was one from Babies R Us. Like
Okay.
it was a generic black one that probably cost about like $80.
Yeah.
That made me feel uncomfortable because I knew how much that was because we went to
Oh,
Babies R
yeah.
Us together.
And you had made the registries together.
Yeah, so I knew how much that was.
And was that wrapped or no?
That was not wrapped.
Okay.
That was just in the bag.
So she holds it up
She
and says,
holds
I
it
have
up.
something else for you while you're halfway turned.
Yes.
Okay.
And I felt uncomfortable because I knew how much that was. I knew that she didn't work. I knew like kind of like her like how did you get this? And I told her I can't accept this. And she was like, why? And I was like, because I know this cost a lot of money. And I didn't tell her this, but like we're not on that type of friendship where I feel like you should be giving me like all like
Yeah.
what you gave me was enough. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I felt bad about it, but she told me, no, she's like, I already had my baby shower. This is actually a duplicate. I got 2 of them. And then I was like, oh,
Okay.
okay. Well, since
Yeah.
you said that, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So I ended up being like, I was grateful. Like at that point, I was like, oh, cool. Thank you. And I did forget something. At one point, she did ask me if there was something I didn't get when we were sitting on the couch. She asked me if there was something I didn't get for my baby shower that I wanted. And I said, you know what? This is going to sound so stupid, but you know those like infomercials, like where they show like the little pillow pet and it shines on the ceiling and
Oh,
it
uh-huh.
shows like the lights and plays like a lullaby. And she was like, yeah. I said, I really wanted one of those and I didn't get one. Like I was like, that's probably the only thing that like I didn't get that like I really honestly wanted. So she used that because the very last gift, she goes, I have one last present for you. And I was like, okay. She goes, but I have to show you in the dark. And I was like, oh, why? She goes, it's a special surprise. And she goes, it's something you really wanted. I go, no, you didn't. She goes, yes, I did. She goes, I saw it. Like she was basically stating like it was on my baby registry. Like she was like, but I had it specially made for Ryland. And I was like, oh. She was like, yeah, so I want to show you though, because you can only see it in the dark. And at this point, it was probably hitting about like 6 o'clock. So the sun was coming down.
Uh-huh.
It was getting dark in the house. And so I was like, okay. So we end up going back to my room.
So you get up off the chair. You guys are walking through the kitchen back to your bedroom.
Yes.
Who's in front?
She's in front of me.
Okay. So you're following behind.
Yes, I'm following behind her. We go into the room and she tells me the kind of the same thing, not to sit down and turn around and close my eyes, but to turn around and close my eyes. So the way I can visually tell you guys is like when you walk into my room, picture walking in, the left-hand side is a closet. Here's just like a where you
Walk-in
can stand.
closet or like double door closet?
Double door closet.
Okay.
Well, like the sliding, like,
Yep,
yeah.
yeah.
And then so like you're walking this way, like there's just like a wall right here, and then my bed's right here.
Okay.
So, and then like behind my bed is just like another area you can walk, like walking space like this.
Yeah.
And then right here would be my my dresser. So it's a really
Okay.
small room.
Okay.
So I'm standing like this where
In
I'm
between the bed and the closet.
Yes, and facing the wall.
Face it. The wall or the closet?
The wall.
The wall, and then the closet.
would be on my left-hand
And the
side
bed on
and the
your
bed on
right.
my right-hand side.
Okay, so you're facing the wall straight ahead, and that pathway is just a small little walking path kind of
That's
area.
correct.
Okay.
So then she's behind me on the ground digging into this bag, and I'm standing there, and all of a sudden I start to have like a conversation with myself in my head.
You're
And
feeling like something's wrong.
it was wild. It was, what would you do if she were to try to stab you? How would you protect yourself? Would you fight her? Would you be able to fight her? Why am I having these feelings?
Oh my gosh, I have
Why
the
am I
chills.
talking? Like, why am I talking to myself right now? And then I was just like, whoa, like, what's going on? Like, so my brain was
Your
trying,
intuition was trying to tell you.
it was trying to tell me. And I was just sitting there and I was like, but why would she try to hurt me? I've been nothing but, no, people don't do this. Like, and I'm literally having just a conversation with myself. And all of a sudden, I start to get the chills. And I'm like, Cassandra, are you almost like done? And she was like, yeah. And I sit there and all of a sudden the voice comes back in my head. You're about to get stabbed. You're about to get stabbed. And I'm just like, so I literally take my phone out of my pocket and I put I kind of have my phone like this. And I go, Cassandra, my back's hurting. I said, I'm going to sit on my bed. So remember, the bed's on the right-hand side.
Mhm.
The closet's on the left-hand side. I maneuver my body to sit onto the bed.
To where now you're facing the closet.
And I can see her.
Okay.
To a sense. She's
On your left.
It's in the dark, but I can still see like her shadows.
Okay.
And so I'm like, my back hurts really bad. I'm going to sit on this bed. So I sit on the bed where I can see her and I'm feeling a little bit better because I can see her.
Yep.
But then all of a sudden she goes, okay, I'm going to get behind you. And I'm like, why? She goes, I'm going to put the light over your head and it's going to shine onto your closet and you'll see the name. And I was like, okay. So she does it. She gets behind me on the bed. And now all of a sudden it's like,
Is she on the bed or just right behind in that standing area?
she's on the bed.
Okay,
So
behind you.
behind me. So I'm sitting on the edge of my bed and now she's physically gotten on behind my bed.
On the
and-
mattress.
on the mattress and she's physically behind me. I could feel her like I could feel her like
Yep.
behind me. And all of a sudden I get like these feelings of like, you're in danger, you're about to be stabbed, you're about to be stabbed. And I'm just kind of like just looking around my room. And then I grab my phone, I put my mom's phone number in it and I hold it to my chest. And the thought in my head was so eerie. And I kept telling myself, if something bad happens to me, my mom could hear a voicemail of me screaming or can
Oh my
figure out like,
gosh.
I had went so into depth of dying that like, but I couldn't really understand like what was happening at that time. Like
Yeah.
it didn't, the way I'm telling it to you guys, it feels like we were probably sitting there for like minutes. This was like happening in like 45 seconds. Like this all happened in very, very fast pace.
Mm-hmm.
So finally, I go, Cassandra, are you going to show me? And she goes, yes. And she puts one hand on my shoulder, on my left-hand shoulder, and she leans me forward so much that my stomach is huge that I can't breathe. And she goes, 1, 2, 3. And right when she does the 3, I literally jump up off the bed. And the reason I jumped though is because something said, run.
Yeah.
Like in my head, it said run. And so I jumped up and I ran to my light. I turned the light switch on and I look at her and she's putting something back into the bag. And I'm like, what are you doing? And then all of a sudden, what a coincidence, her phone rings. It's whoever she's been talking to this whole
Oh
day.
my gosh.
The phone rings and she's like, blah, 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 just
Yeah.
talking to somebody in Spanish. And I remember sitting there looking at her and just like observing and just watching her. And she's just having a full conversation with
Still
somebody.
on your bed.
Still on my bed.
The bag next to her
Next to
now?
her, yes. Just blah, 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 just talking. And then she's grabbing the bed. She's getting off the bed. And like, she sounds like she's almost arguing with somebody. And then I literally I'm standing there for probably a good about 30 seconds until I turn around and walk out of my room to collect myself, to understand what just happened. So now I go and I sit at the table and I'm so dissociated at this point.
Yeah.
I'm just filing my nails. All I'm doing is sitting there. I'm replaying it over and over again in my head. You stood there. She didn't give you anything. What was it? Is there something in her bag? Are you crazy? Like you didn't take your nap today. Maybe you're delirious. Like maybe this isn't even actually happening. So I am fighting back and forth with myself. But I'm a very big, I'm not a true crime junkie, but I'm definitely like an SVU junkie. So I've watched a lot of like SVU where I've known that you don't let the murderer know that you know what's going to happen.
Yep.
Because if you do, you're going to make them, they're going to make a mistake, which could be, it could be really bad. So I was like, in my head, I was like, okay, don't alarm her to where you think something is wrong, but also don't be stupid and not realize what could be
So
happening.
at this point, you knew something's weird here. Something's going
I
on.
knew
I don't know
something.
what it is, but something's not right.
Something's not right, but I will be very honest. I was also 18 years old, a
Of course.
teenager, and there was a part of me that did feel like, what if I'm wrong?
Mhm.
What if I accuse now this new friend who's friends with all of my friends and myself and my
And I'm the
husband's
crazy
friends,
one.
and I call the cops on her?
Yeah.
And then I look like, Angelique, all she was doing was giving you a gift. And there's a gift in there. Like, she gave me gifts earlier.
Mhm.
Like, what would make this different? So we've already established she's weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
we've
fair.
already established that she's a weird person. So like, I don't know, that part of me was in the back of my head, but it wasn't going away. So I wasn't just going into this thinking like, oh, la da 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 da, like I'm just gonna. No, that's not how I went into this. I went into this very, very smart.
Yeah.
So then I'm sitting there and I'm doing my nails, and she comes out and she goes, my husband, that was my husband. And I was like, oh, she goes, he's surprising me and coming down here to go to dinner with me, but I have nothing to wear. And I'm like, she's leaving.
Yeah.
Gosh, she's leaving.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Finally.
She's not trying to kill me.
Yeah.
Like, she's going to leave. So I got so excited. So I was like, oh, you can try something on in my room. Go look in my room. I didn't even want to bring up the gift. Like, at this point, whatever you have in your bag, I don't want.
Yeah.
So I didn't even bring it up. I didn't want to.
Mhm.
I was too scared to bring
Yeah.
it up. I just knew at this moment she was going to go. Now, I don't know how in depth you want me to go, but there was another incident that happened like right after that. So I don't know where I don't know where it fits into my story. Um there was a moment, and I don't know if it happened before we went into the room or if it happened after, but there was a moment that she went into the bathroom and she came out with water on her pants and tried to fake like her water broke.
Oh. And she
Yeah.
told you her water broke.
She's like, I don't know what's happening. And I'm sorry, like
No, it's okay.
I don't remember if it was before or after. So like I never really tell people in interviews because I can't
Of-
distinguish when it
I
happened.
think that's absolutely fair that you don't remember that. Hello. I mean, with everything you went through. But okay, that's obviously a very big detail.
It is because at one point she called somebody and was like, she asked me, like, she started freaking out, like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's happening. I was like, oh my God, like, did your water break? Like, you're 7 months, like, you're 6, 7 months pregnant. Like, this is bad. And she was like, I don't know what's going on. Will you come to the hospital with me? And I was like, yeah, like, I'll come to the hospital with you, like, whatever you need. She goes, okay. And she goes, well, let me call somebody. She goes, hey, come get us. Okay, bye. And hangs up. Who's this person that she's calling?
Yeah.
And then I go, well, I need to call my mom really quick. I need to let her know what's happening. And I start to grab my phone and she goes, wait, you need to let your mom know? And I said, yeah, like she's like, you're 18. I was like, yeah, but I live with my mom. Like, I got to let her know.
Yeah.
She goes, well, let me go make sure I didn't pee myself. And then she
Huh.
goes back into the bathroom, comes out, and she goes, false alarm. I think I might have just peed myself. And I felt really bad. I didn't feel bad, but I had done that like twice. So I had been, I'm going to raise my hand with guilt that I have been the woman that went to the hospital thinking that my, water broke. And unfortunately, when they come back and say, it's not
It's
water,
urine.
it's urine. And you're like, are you sure? Can you run that test again, please?
So she was doing a lot of things though to almost like simulate that she had gone into labor. And then
Yeah.
when you were saying, I'm going to notify my mom, she starts walking it back,
Yes.
saying, oh no, I just peed myself.
Yes.
Okay. So whether that happened before or after the bedroom incident, unclear. But now she's getting picked up by her husband. She needs something to wear. She's going through your closet.
Yes, I want to say it happened after because I feel like her trying clothes on in my room had something to do with her leaving with her husband, but also because she
Wanted to change?
wanted to change because
Okay.
she had water all over her. And a part of my brain just doesn't remember exact. I do just remember that though, because I remember just thinking in my head like, oh, this poor girl just peed herself in my bed in like my bathroom.
Yeah.
So I go into my room, I grab like 5 different outfits, I lay it out on my bed, and I'm like, here you go, you can try all of these on, whatever fits you, you can have. I don't even care. Like, take it with you. Hasta la vista, bye. Like,
Yeah.
So she goes into my room, and before she goes into my room though, there's no reason for this, but I love candles. I love them. I just, you feel that moment that you just want to light a candle
Yeah.
just because. So I had gotten this new like it was like a teacup candle that like where you put like the oil and then like it like kind of goes up and
Oh, okay.
lets like the fragrance, or I don't know what they're called, but you visually you
Yeah.
can see what I'm saying. So I remember before she went into the room, I took a candle and I lit it. No reason, just lit it. And that's when I laid the clothes out. She went and tried the clothes on. She closed the door. I went back and started, filing my nails more. And then all of a sudden she comes out and she goes, "What do you think about this?" And I was like, "Oh, that dress looks great on you. Like, you can barely tell that you're even pregnant. Like, you can have it. Like, that would be perfect to go to dinner with." And then I start, like, as I'm talking to her though, I start walking into my room. And when I walk into my room, I smell something weird. And I'm like, "Do you smell that?" And she was like, "What?" And I was like, "It smells like something's on fire." And I looked to the candle's out, but it doesn't smell like a burning candle went out. It just smells like something's on fire. And she's like, "No, I don't smell that." And I'm like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Huh." So then I start looking everywhere in my room. I open my closet. I'm doing this very fast though. Like, I open my closet, see nothing. Look under my bed, see nothing. Open my drawers, nothing. And I'm sitting there, my brain is just like kind of going and going and going. And I'm like, what is going on right now? Like, why? It smells like a fire. So then I literally go back as a test because I go and take another candle. Something inside my brain is telling me that something's wrong
Mhm.
and I don't know how to prove it. So I go get another candle and I light it and I see what she does. She goes, "Oh, is it okay if I try this other dress on?" And I'm like, "Yeah, go ahead." But I'm very suspicious now. So she runs back into the room, closes the door, and I'm like, something's happening in that room. So then my pantry is diagonal from my bedroom door. So I go into my pantry and I'm pretending I'm so paranoid. I'm so paranoid at this point. I'm pretending like I'm looking for chips. So I'm making noise in my pantry and I'm like, "Cassandra, do you want some chips? Do you want a snack? Are you hungry?" And I'm just like leaning over, looking at my
Mhm.
my door, and I can see her shadow and it's pacing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Like, it's just, and I'm like, she's setting my house on fire. And I'm so
Oh my
sorry. I don't know if
gosh.
we're allowed to cuss.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
So I was like, she's setting my house on fire. But nothing made sense why. And
Right.
where am I getting this all from? I have no, like, where do you get from a candle? Like, it was very weird. So she opens the door, I run back in there and I look at the candle and I go, "Cassandra, why is that candle out again?" And at this point I'm pissed. Like, I'm stern. Forgetting that she even tried, like, whatever happened, I'm just mad. Like, what is, can you explain to me, like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And she goes, "What do you mean? I didn't put that out." And she's like, "It must have just went out." And I'm like, "The fan isn't on, the AC isn't on. How does a candle just go out?" And I'm like, "And what is that smell?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "I don't know. I do smell it now though." And I was like, "Okay." So then we start looking through she's looking through my room with me. I go to my brother's room, which is right next door. I start searching his room. I don't smell anything in there. So I go back into my room. I do the same search, but I do it opposite. I open my drawers, nothing's in there. Look under the bed, look behind the bed, look somewhere else, open my closet, and everything is in flames. My whole closet is in flames. All of my clothes are, everything is
Oh my
just
gosh.
just blazing. And I start screaming, "Oh my God, like, there's a fire." And I'm like, and at this point, like, everything went outside of my head of what just happened, just like, I need to get this fire out. And I had my cell phone, it was just a flip phone. So I took it and I pressed send, 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 which ended up calling my best friend Skylar. He was the last person that ever called me. So when I call him, I'm just screaming, "Call 911, my house is on fire. Please, I'm trying to put it out." Boom, I hang up. I'm running back and forth with pots and pans. I threw a pot at Cassandra, but honestly, I don't even know what she was doing at this point. I think she was just standing there watching me. But I was running back and forth to the kitchen, filling pots of water up, throwing it on the fire. And at this point, my whole room is filled with smoke. It's hard to breathe. She can't breathe. She's coughing. I'm coughing.
Oh my
So I run to
gosh.
the garage. The garage is right next to my room. I open the garage door and I go back inside my room, grab her by her collar, and I drag her outside. And smoke just starts rolling out of my house. So at this point, all you see is like black smoke just
Mhm.
rolling out of the garage. And Skylar had gotten there first before the paramedics. Skylar lived like 3 minutes away from me. So he had gotten there first before the paramedics, before the firefighters, before anybody came. And right when she came out, right when we both came out, he pulled up with his mom and his little brother. And she just like took off running down the street barefoot. Nobody knows why.
Wow.
Nobody knows.
That's the markings of an innocent person.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Right?
and he goes, "What?" And I go, "Just let her go.
Yeah.
Just let her go." And he's like, what's going
Did she
on?"
have the big diaper bag with her when she took off on foot?
I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea.
Okay.
We've never been able to, I'll say, like, it's a very weird thing that she did, but we've never been able to understand, like, why.
Uh-huh.
Like, nobody found anything. The police, like, went and looked in the bushes that nobody could find anything. So I don't know if she called somebody.
Yeah.
So that part I don't know of,
Okay.
but, like, it was just a very weird thing, but it was a moment for me to talk to Skylar by myself. So, like, Skylar's mom runs back inside my house and just to make sure the fire is out, and I pull Skylar aside, and he's like, "What?" I was like, "Just let her go. Just
Mhm.
let her go. I don't know what's happening. And he's like, Angelique, like, what is going on? And I'm like, can I tell you something without you like thinking different or judging me? And he's like, yeah. And I said, all right. I think she was trying to kill me. I think she was going to stab me. I'm not exactly sure why. I think she set my house on fire. I think she's jealous of me. I don't know what's happening, Skylar, and that's literally how I'm telling him. I'm
Mhm.
telling him so fast that his brain can't even comprehend what I'm saying.
Mhm.
And he's looking at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, yeah, I'm never going to say this to anybody again. I'm never going to tell anybody what I just said because the way he's looking at me is like I have 10 heads.
Yeah.
And he goes, I go, you believe me, right? And he goes, I I want to believe you, but like why would she like this doesn't make any sense. Like are you sure this is what happened? Like he was even questioning like what I was saying and I was just like maybe I'm overreacting, maybe this didn't happen, maybe I'm delirious, like maybe there's something wrong with me. And I'm like, God. So at that point, I start having contractions though. So now after I told him, Cassandra came back. So she did come back. And now the paramedics are there, the firefighters are there, the police are there. My parents pull up and the fire restarted. So the cops,
Oh,
firefighters
wow.
are back in there trying to figure out what's happening. I hear them talking about like a battery that may have exploded. So in my head, I'm like, maybe she didn't start this fire.
Mhm.
Like maybe this is all just like there's something like they're gonna figure out what like the fire investigators in there. They're gonna figure out what happened.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, like let everyone do their job. Let me just go ahead and worry about myself because at this point I'm in like labor because the smoke made us have contractions. And I
Oh my
say us
gosh.
because she started having contractions. So her and I are both being treated by paramedics. And my mom comes over to me and she's like, "Hey, like how are you feeling? Like how did this happen?" And I'm like, I don't know, just let them figure out what happened." And I go and Cassandra's like crying. She's like, "Oh my gosh," like she's in so much pain and she's crying. And I go, "Mom, just go to her. Like go to her. I have Skylar." So my mom goes over and starts like holding her hand and the paramedics are getting information from her. And this is where my mom started to catch on to things because everything she was telling the paramedics was different than what she told us. Like her name was Cassandra Taruga, but she said her name was like Marie Taruga or something. She was like giving different like names,
Uh-huh.
different addresses, different age, different how many months she was. Like everything wasn't adding up to what she told us earlier that day. So my mom was like, weren't you like 6, 7 months pregnant? Oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't mean I was 5. I'm 6, I'm like 7. So like there were certain things that my mom was like sitting there starting to like hear these.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there just like trying to breathe. I have like like a mask on. And I told Skylar not to tell anybody. But of course, like we're teenagers. He ends up telling his mom. His mom tells my parents this is all happening while we're outside. Like it's just like a,
Yeah.
everyone's whispering. And all of a sudden, my mom, my dad, and Skylar's mom all give me like a look. And I'm like, did you tell them? And he goes, Angelique, I had to. Things are weird. Like I'm feeling weird about this. Like, God forbid if this actually is real and she tried to kill you, like somebody has to help us.
Yeah.
And I look at him and I just do a big sigh of relief, like, thank you. Like I
Yeah.
couldn't say it. So then I get up because I'm feeling better. She's still crying. And she's also talking on the phone with somebody saying, yeah, Angelique, what hospital are you going to go to? Can I go to the same hospital she goes
Mhm.
to? And I'm like, don't let her go near me, please. And so I go back inside the house because my parents are like, what is happening? And I'm like, okay. So I do the same thing I did to Skylar. And I'm like, I think she was going to kill me. She put me in my room. Or she put me in the middle of the kitchen. Then she put me in my room. Something told me she was going to kill me. And I'm like trying to explain to them. And I can tell they, just like Skylar, they all want to understand and they all want to believe me. But I look like I'm hysterical at this point. And the paramedics go, okay, we're taking her to the hospital. We're just grabbing her belongings. So they start grabbing all my clothes. And I'm like, no, 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 those are mine. I go, this is all hers. And I grab the bag and I give them the bag. And as I'm handing them the bag, I take it back. And I go, wait, there was a gift in here. And I put it on top of the counter so everybody could see. And I'm explaining, she said she had this gift. It shined on the ceiling. She said it had Ryland's name on it. And I'm like talking and I'm opening it. I put my hands in and literally all I feel is metal. And when I pull my hand out, I have 2 large butcher knives in my hand and I drop them on the counter. And I said, I told you she was going to kill me.
Oh
I
my
told you. And
God.
then I go into like this weird, I kept saying the same thing over and over and over. I told you she was gonna kill me. I told you she was gonna kill me. And I just kept saying that. It was like for like an hour straight. I was like in this
Yeah.
trance and I couldn't stop. And I was just, was staring at a wall crying.
Yeah.
And at that point, they had already got her into the ambulance. So there was no like going, like once medically wise, like once you get into an ambulance, like there's no, they're going to take you to the hospital.
Yeah, and then if they're going to have law enforcement, they'll send them there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that ends up happening, and they take her. And at this point, now my street has been shut down as an attempted murder scene. So now nobody can get in and nobody can get out.
Was there anything else in the bag besides the 2 butcher knives?
There was disinfectant, there was scissors, and there was a newborn diaper.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, it gives you chills.
It,
When you
like I
think of,
literally have the chills. I can't even imagine what was going through your mind when you had that.
It
And
was- it
we're
was-
discovering all of that.
it was surreal. It really was. And even my mom, like, she'll sit there and she was just like, nobody's brains could understand like what was happening. And to be quite honest, even with all the evidence in front of me, I still didn't understand like why. Like I didn't put 2 and 2 together that she wanted to take my baby.
Uh-huh.
I
You
didn't know,
thought she just wanted to kill you.
I just thought she wanted to kill me.
So what was your mom's reaction as you were pulling the stuff out of the bag? Was she kind of like, what?
But I don't think the cops were there when I pulled it out. It was the paramedics. My mom's crazy. She runs out with the butcher knives and the bag into like, she runs outside because that's where everybody's at.
Yeah.
And she goes, this was in her bag. And she's like holding 2 large butcher knives. And
Oh my
I'm like,
gosh.
so the cops are like, what are you doing? And she's like,
They're
no.
all, put down the knife, lady.
Yes. My mom's like, this was in her bag.
Oh
Like,
my
so my mom
gosh.
is like screaming. And I just stayed stuck in the house, like staring at a wall.
Yeah.
I do remember they tried to call Josh, and Josh was at a friend's house. So I think he was drinking too, because when he had to get a ride, and I remember they wouldn't let him in. So it took 2.5 hours for them to allow Josh to even come back because everything was shut down.
Mhm.
Nobody in, nobody out. And so finally they let him in. And by the time he got to me, I was still just staring at a wall. Like I wasn't talking. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't literally the detectives tried to talk to me and I was just silent. I wouldn't talk to anybody. And then finally, like when he came, I felt like a sense of like relief.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hugged him and then I like snapped out of it. It's like I snapped out of whatever funk I was in and I was like, let me talk to the detective. And so I start talking to the detective. And what sucks about it is like, remember, this is going to be like where we talked about how this detective knew me from my younger
Yeah.
childhood and has arrested me plenty of times to the point where she was questioning me.
Yep.
Are you sure that's what happened?
Yeah.
Are you positive? Do you think maybe the fire started because you were smoking weed in your room?
Oh my gosh.
Are you don't smoke weed still? Because I do recall me
Ugh.
arresting you for smoking weed. Like, and the thing is I didn't even remember any of that until I got a hold of my interrogation tapes and I listened to the whole thing. I thought that my brain wanted to think that they were on my
Of
side,
course.
but they were like making jokes. Like I've listened to my own tape and I can hear myself. Like I'm stuttering, I'm scared, I'm laughing because I'm giggling because I'm nervous,
Uh-huh.
but they're making me feel so uncomfortable throughout the whole investigation where they're just because I'm being questioned, like
Mhm.
I did something wrong. And I just remember, the fire investigators were in there. They were able to find the teacup candles. They ran fingerprints. Her fingerprints were on both teacup candles, which they shouldn't have been
Mhm.
if she didn't touch them. So she did use the teacup candles to light the fire in my room. And they do have some type of report that explains like how it happened. I don't exactly understand or know how it did. Something with the candle wax, something when she lit it. I think she may have lit my computer and it exploded. I'm not really,
Okay.
something created this boom. Because remember the
Yeah.
first time I looked in the closet, there was
nothing,
nothing. There
right.
was though. They said it was a slow fire.
Oh, okay.
And whatever she did the second time amplified it.
Mhm.
And so that's what caused for the fire. Because like it was like maybe like 4 or 5 minute like in
Yeah.
between that. So between that 5 minutes like that, the flames were everywhere. Everything in my closet was burned down.
Yep.
My mom's wedding dress that I wanted
Oh
to
my
wear when I got married.
gosh.
Like I lost everything in that closet,
Yeah.
which for me was a lot because that's
Of
like
course.
that's where everything was.
Yeah. So as the detectives and the fire investigators are all now working together, realizing like what really happened, she's transported to the hospital. And what happens from there?
So she was transported to the hospital, and from my understanding, she said she was pregnant. They ran a pregnancy test. She wasn't. And I think when they like confronted her about it, she ran. So
Okay.
like she left the hospital.
Okay.
So when the detective,
She was never pregnant.
she was never pregnant.
She just faked the whole
She
thing.
faked the whole pregnancy.
Okay. Was she wearing a fake belly or anything like that?
No, she was a very, very skinny girl. She was probably about like 5'8", so she was a little bit taller. She had really large hips and she had a really nice figure, to be quite honest. She had big hips and a big butt, but super, super tiny. So she would always like lean like this, and she
Oh,
would
okay.
constantly go like that. So like a belly would kind of be there.
Yeah.
But my mom told me, because I remember I asked too, you know, she doesn't look that pregnant though. Like she doesn't look 6 or 7 months. My mom was like, women carry differently. Like there's some women that even don't even,
You never see it.
you never see it.
Yeah.
And I didn't show because I was, you know, coming off drugs. I didn't show till I was like 6 months. Like I didn't actually, I was trying to gain all that weight back. So
Right.
it made sense. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, everybody just thought that she was pregnant.
Yeah.
And because she told everybody for months that she was.
Yeah. So she takes this test. She's not pregnant. She flees the hospital. And what happens then?
The next day I find out that she left the hospital and I was not okay with everything. I woke up feeling terrified because now it's like somebody had to tell me that like this was a plan to take my baby. So like my mom ended up having to be the one to like kind of reel me in and make me understand like, Angelique, I don't think this was about killing you. I think this was about your baby. I think this was about Ryland. Like I think she was going to take Ryland. And then it all started to like, it was like a full circle where I was like, this happened, that happened. I was like, oh my God, like I think you're right. Like it made more sense, like the C-section talk, all of that.
Yeah.
So then one thing about me is I'm a really good investigator, really good. It's actually ridiculous. So I take things into my own hands because I don't think the cops are taking me seriously. So I end up finding information about her that other people didn't, like that the cops didn't even find. Like I found out that she was a runaway from years ago and they said she was a danger to herself and to society. She was schizophrenic, manic depressant, bipolar. And at this time, it was called multi-personality syndrome, but now it's called DID. Which was, I think because it was really hard to diagnose multi-personality syndrome. It was something along the lines, but it was in the news. I found like an article and like the fact that they didn't find any of this was crazy. And what makes this even wilder is that I found a picture of her where she was in a picture with somebody that I knew from middle school. So I had to remember, where did I know this girl from middle school? I don't think she went to school with us, but she lived in Chandler. Like, where do I know her from? And it was from one of my ex-boyfriends, Chris. He had dated her. So now I'm calling Chris. Chris, what was that girl's name? This is her picture. Oh, that's Maddie. Okay, where does Maddie live? She lives in Chandler. Okay, can I have her number? Can I have her Facebook? Like, he gives me her information. I call her, and I just load it all on her. I know you don't know me, but something happened. There's a girl in the picture with you. Her name is Cassandra Chiruga. I think she tried to hurt me. Can you please help me? Like, how do you know this girl? And she was like, what happened? And I was like, she came to my house with butcher knives. Like, I'm kind of word vomiting.
Yeah.
And she goes, that's my cousin. And I'm like, your cousin? She goes, that is my cousin. And I'm like, okay, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't, like, now I feel like I stepped into a territory, like, where I'm talking to family and, like, that can't be good. But she was like, no, she's like, I believe you. And I was like, wait, what? She goes, I believe you. And I was like, why? She goes, because Cassandra is not, like, mentally, first off, she's not, like, a mentally stable person. She also has a lot of things in her life, like, that happen, like, she didn't really go into detail. She just said, like, I believe you. And I go, does she actually have a sister that lives out here? She goes, no, she does. She's like, but the sister is out of the country right now. So she has no idea what's going on. So the sister hasn't been home. Then I said, does she have a brother? Yeah, she has a brother, but he doesn't live here. What do you mean he doesn't live here? She got dropped off by her brother.
Yeah.
Who was it that dropped her off?
Right.
Because my brother saw a man
in the truck.
In the van.
Oh, the van.
The white van, yeah.
Yeah.
So like all of these things where I was kind of trying to understand and not really knowing what was happening. Then I give all the information to the cops. I give them Marty's phone number. I give them the sister's address. I give them everything. And they're like, wow, how did you find all of this? And I'm like, I don't know.
I did a little research.
Thank you. That's why I'm like, I don't know, a quick, Google search.
Yeah, gosh. So then what happened? Was she ever arrested?
No. After that, I actually got brought down to the police station and they asked me if I would be willing to call her, because at this point they said no one's explained to her that we found the butcher. She doesn't know any of this. So we're a step ahead of her. Now they're starting to believe me.
Yeah.
So now they're like, can you come down to the police station and we put a wire on you and we'll have you call and pretend like you have no idea what's going on. And we need you to get her to admit that she was in your room before the fire started. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, do I have to? They're like, this would really help our investigation. Like, I think she'll trust you. And I'm like, okay. So I get brought down to the station. They hook me up and they have me call. So I call and I'm like, hey, Cassandra. And she's like, hi. And I'm like, what happened the other night? Like, how are you feeling? I heard you went to the hospital. Like, are you okay? And she was like, oh, yeah, yeah, I'm fine. And I was like, okay. She's like, what about you? And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm good. Like, the contraction stopped. I said, I was just more worried about you. And I was like, this whole thing is crazy. And they're like, yeah, they wrote down questions for me to like ask, which are all like in the police report, which I found. It's like all these questions that they wanted me to ask. And so I was supposed to narrow down her being in the room alone. So then I had to go into like, this is crazy. Like, how did that fire start? I don't know how that fire started. Then I was like, they told me that you said we were smoking weed in my room. Like, like, we weren't smoking weed. She goes, I would never say that. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, well, you were in the room though, right? Like, before the fire started, like, you were physically there by yourself. And then she was like, yeah. And then all of a sudden you hear, don't talk to them, like a man's voice, get off the phone. And then click.
Oh, wow.
And then that was it. That was the last time I ever talked to her. It was a lot, but I was able to give them, like, they were able to at least get that to, I think, to kind of not put me, because she said that we were smoking weed
Mhm.
and that we ashed in like my closet or something. And I'm like, girl, I'm 9 months pregnant. Like, what do
Yeah.
you mean? So that's what she told them. And that's why they were questioning me about it. And so I just had to get them to like understand that it wasn't me. So after
Yeah.
that, I end up going into labor.
Oh
I
my
find out I
God.
have preeclampsia and I am in the hospital for like 7 days. My room is shut. Like, basically, I'm put down as Jane Doe. Police are outside my room.
Wow.
Nobody can come in unless they have like a special code. And
So if
then,
they knew that there was such a danger and a risk there, why wasn't she arrested for anything?
so they couldn't find her after she left the hospital. Nobody knew where she
Oh,
was at.
okay.
So nobody could find out where she was. The sister was in
Different
different
country.
country, nobody knew. And I remember when I went into the hospital, I didn't talk to the cops at all. Like, there was a cop stationed outside of like my door. But like I never talked to anybody. And I think it was just best that way. I ended up going through a really traumatic birth, like that ended with me, you know, um, I ended up like bleeding out and passed out in the bathroom in a puddle of my own
Oh
blood.
my gosh.
And I had to have, like, a blood transfusion, and Ryland, when Ryland was like, when I was giving birth to him, like, he was faced the opposite way, so his heart rate was dropped. Like, it was a
Oh
very,
God.
honestly, traumatic birth, and they were trying really hard not to give me a C-section because of what I went through,
Yeah,
but, like, we both came out with infections, my water broke too early, like,
a lot.
so, yeah, it was a lot on my body and on
Mhm.
myself. So by the time I gave birth, it was February 26th, so 10 days from the incident. I was released from the hospital about 4 or 5 days later. So I went home and I just had nightmares like for days. Like, and I didn't leave my house. Like, I stayed literally on a couch for like days and days and days because I was scared. I
Mhm.
was terrified. Now I have this baby that she wanted. Like, what's going to happen? And then I think it was March 4th. I think it was March 4th or March 5th. In the middle of the night, it was like midnight. My mom came into my room and she was waking me up. And I was like, what? She was like, it's Detective Turner. And I was like, okay. So I get on the phone and she goes, we have her. And I'm like, what? So then I start to wake up and I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, we have her. And I'm like, Cassandra? And she's like, yes. And she's like, we have the confession. She confessed everything. She
Oh my.
was she was going to kill you, perform a C-section. The fire was never meant to be a part of this, but it played a role. So, like, when she couldn't kill you the first time because you turned around, she was hoping that the fire was going to like overcome you with smoke and you would pass out. And then she'd be able to perform the C-section and let the body burn with all of the evidence.
Oh my God.
It was a very diabolical plan, specifically because the fire was never meant to be
Yeah.
a part of it.
She just was trying to improvise at that
She was trying to
point.
improvise.
What was it like hearing that and getting the validation, but also hearing the details of what she was planning?
I slept for the first time that night.
Wow.
I slept for the first time that night without waking up, and it was a really I felt like I wasn't crazy
Mhm.
because I felt like everybody thought I was crazy. I'll be quite honest with you. My not so close friends, like just acquaintances that were finding out, thought I was attention seeking,
Mm.
thought I was lying. I had family members that didn't even check on me, didn't care, thought I was just exaggerating the whole thing. So there was a moment where I wondered, like, and as time goes by, I was like, was it really that bad?
Right, because everything you become a little bit desensitized to it and you look back and you don't remember that feeling in the moment. And so it's easy to be like, was I overreacting? Maybe I was. Yeah, I totally understand what you mean.
So then the next day it came out on the news nationwide. And that's when all the I'm sorries came.
Hmm.
That's when all the I'm so sorry I didn't believe you. I'm sorry that I wasn't there for you. I'm sorry that you went through this alone. Like, it
Have you ever
sucked.
heard her confession?
Unfortunately, the first time I ever heard it was on the ID channel, and they didn't tell me. So when it
Oh,
aired, that was my first time ever
oh my
hearing
God.
her confession, and I vomited
Yeah.
because I had never nobody had ever given me the opportunity to listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
My case was handled it was handled very incorrectly. Um, I didn't get a lot of tools. I didn't get anything.
Wow.
So it was I felt like when I heard it on the ID channel though, it was very eerie, and it's also like the ID channel, puts like a little bit of dramatic like music behind it and
Yeah.
stuff. But I remember sitting there watching the ID channel of like the episode, and then all of a sudden it goes, they play actors in it and stuff. It was called Frenemies. And so like it was like actresses that are playing like me and Cassandra. And then all of a sudden at the end it says actual footage and like it's her voice. And she's like, I was just gonna stab her just a couple of times. I wasn't trying to kill. But if that's what I had to do, then yeah, I guess I was gonna have to.
Wow. Oh my God. So, but then the most frustrating part in all of this, she didn't end up getting charged with attempted murder, correct?
That is correct.
And can you explain why that happened?
So,
Despite a confession, the knives, the equipment, like everything,
fingerprints,
fingerprints,
everything.
she was not charged with attempted murder.
Also, one thing I did wanna say was the only reason they caught her, so I did find out the only reason they caught her was because Marty called the sister when she came back into the country and said, I need to tell you what's been happening since you've been gone." And when her sister heard, she called 911 and said, "Come get my sister, she's here at the house."
Good.
So that
Good.
the sister was the reason why I was able like, why we were able to
Yeah.
even get her. Um, Now during the whole legal process, I don't remember talking to one person. It was like a whole year had went by and I just dissociated the whole year because I was trying to learn to be a new mom.
Mm-hmm.
And what sucks about this is that like you're a mom.
Mm-hmm.
Your first, you have your first baby, you have all these like moments that you think like that things are going to happen. As a first mom, you're like, "Oh, I'm going to give birth this way. This is what's going to happen. You're going to come home in this. We're going to do this. You're going to have, you plan out like
Yeah.
what this is all going to look like." I didn't get that.
Mm.
I feel like if anything, she took that away from me because I was in so much pain
She did.
and I didn't know how to even parent at that point. Like I was just happy that like I had this miracle, but she took everything. Like she took my birth away from me. She took my son's first year from me. Like I
Mhm.
just dissociated throughout the whole thing. I don't remember his first steps. I don't remember what his first baby food was. I don't even remember what his first word was because I was just trying to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do remember not talking to everybody. I like talking to one person at all. And I remember asking my parents, like, had anyone ever called us? Like, I know I was in like such like a dissociation at that point. Like, did anything happen that I don't remember? And my parents said they don't remember anybody ever like trying to contact us until January. It might have been the beginning of February of 2012. And a year had went by and they finally called and stated that they wanted to talk about a plea bargain. And I was like, "Wait, why?" I was like, "What can
Why would you do that if you have her confession? You have this.
you
Like,
have
why do you need to do a
everything?"
plea bargain? Yeah.
Exactly. I was like, "I don't get it. Like, why is this not a strong enough case?" And they said, "Well, our biggest part of the case was the confession." And I was like, "Okay." And they were like, "The cops didn't read her Miranda rights at the time of her confession. So that has been thrown out.
Oh my
And
God.
as of right now, it's not illegal to carry 2 butcher knives in the state of Arizona. You can carry." I said, "So I can walk down the street with knives?" And nobody was saying, they said, "Technically, yes."
So because the cops didn't do their job with reading her the Miranda rights, the confession is basically null and void.
Hmm.
There's no other evidence that proves that there was attempted murder happening. There was, yeah, the fire incident, but you can't use her confession. She's probably not going to reconfess, I would imagine.
Hmm.
And so what were they able to charge her with?
Arson. They scared me into a plea bargain, though, because they said, "We can go to trial if that's what you want." They said, "But
They
there's
wouldn't be
a
able to show
very,"
the confession.
they said, "there's a very high chance that she'll walk." They said, "So what we're presenting to you is 7.5 years, technically 8.5 with her time served because she's been in there for a year. But they did give me the option. They said, we're going to give you the option if you want to send her to prison or if you want to send her to ASH, which is called the Arizona State Hospital."
Okay.
And so they gave me a few days to think about it, and I came back with my decision, and it was a really tough one. But at this point, I had been presented that she was mentally ill, that she had all these different, things going on, and that, I knew that one day she would get out, and I didn't want her to reoffend to anybody. So I wanted her to get the help that she needed. So when I came back, I said I want to send her to Ash so that she can get the proper medication, get her life back. And when she gets released, she doesn't do this to anybody again. So that's where I sent her.
I have to say, I am blown away by like the way you're able to rationalize things and think things through at such a young age. Honestly,
Thank
it's like
you.
making me emotional thinking about it. No, because even how you had said when you had found out you were pregnant that within 24 hours you decided you wanted to get clean and be on a good path and be there for your child. And then now having the compassion for somebody and their mental well-being and being like, I'd rather her not reoffend in the future. Whereas if it were me, even still today, I'd probably be like, throw her in prison, the hardest one you possibly could, put her in Alcatraz, like throw away the key. But to like be that young and have such compassion to be like, I don't want her to reoffend and I want her to get the help that she needs. That is so incredibly big of you. It really is. And you, if you're not, you should absolutely be proud of yourself for that.
Thank
Because I
you.
don't think a lot of people would have made that choice.
I found that out a lot on social media where people are like, not saying that I'm too nice because they didn't say that. They said the same thing that you said. Like the fact that you were that age and even going through a trauma, you rationalized like
Yeah.
that type of way.
And that you don't want her
know,
to reoffend and hurt somebody else. You're not even thinking about yourself and your own vindication and the consequences for what she did to you, but you're forward thinking, being like, I don't want somebody else to go through this. And that is a huge, huge thing.
Thank you. I
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate that. That's something that I really do. And it's really nice hearing like someone say that just because like when I go to a lot of places, like I don't really talk about it too much. So thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate
of
that.
course.
It was I felt proud about that moment. I was able to go to court after and like they gave me the opportunity to like talk on my own behalf and I wrote this long letter and I remember it took me forever to talk because I kept crying.
Mhm.
Every single time I studied that letter, when you're gonna go watch your perpetrator get, sentenced, you're like, okay, let me just, read this to everybody, my family, my mom, my dad, everybody. And I was like, yes, I got this. The minute I stepped in that courtroom, it was like,
Of course, of
yes, like
course.
all the emotions
And
came
did you
back.
see her?
I did see her.
Mhm.
I read her what I stated, and at the very end, I stated, that I forgave her because I don't want to have hatred in my heart. I don't want to live my life hating somebody for somebody that was mentally ill or somebody that made a mistake. And, I said, like, I don't like you. I
Mhm.
don't like you. Every bone in my body tells me to hate you. And I said, but I refuse to allow myself to have hatred. And I said, I hope that you take what I'm doing to you by sending you to Ash. I hope you remember in the back of your mind when you're released that I did that
Mhm.
I showed compassion and love and understanding and forgiveness because you're not going to see that from a lot of people. So
Mhm.
like take that and please like do better.
Mhm.
And I remember the judge looking at her and telling her like, Cassandra, this is now your opportunity to talk. Do you have anything that you want to say to this young woman? And she stood up, looked at me, looked at the judge and said, "No, Your Honor," and sat back down.
You're like, I take it all back. Send her to
I
Max. That's what I would have done. I'd be like, fuck that. Let's take that all back. Send her to the chair.
I literally was like, I remember like my brain was like,
Are you for real?
yes, the judge even said again, Cassandra, I'm going to repeat this one more time. This is your last time you will ever see this woman. Do you have anything that you want to say? No.
Wow.
It was, and the way that she did it, dude, it was the most eerie moment, I think, even more than her confession. It was the smirk.
Yeah.
It was the
No remorse.
no remorse. And that made me
Wow.
feel like shit because I was just
Yeah.
like, I just
Poured my heart out.
poured my heart out to you. I can't believe that.
Oh my God.
So I remember walking out of there. I was just like, I am so happy this is over, but like,
Yeah.
this is crazy. And I remember I remember being outside, the news reporters were out there. It was like lights flashing everywhere. And they were like, what did you say? What did you do? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, here you go. Here's a letter.
Yeah.
Analyze it, take video.
Do what you wanna do.
Do what you want to do with it.
I'm
This
done.
is what I said. I'm done. We're done. I'm happy this is over. I'm gonna go be a mom to my son and hopefully she gets better. And like that was like the end of it. I mean, for the
Wow.
most part.
Yeah.
Until I went back home because Florence is like a good hour away from us. So that's like where all this was done. I live in Maricopa. And so when I got back home, like news reporters were outside of my house. Like everybody wanted to have an interview with
Of
me.
course.
And I just stayed isolated for after like 2 weeks, it kind of just like slowed. Everybody kind of left me alone.
Mhm. So she went to Ash for, what was it, 7.5 more years?
Yes. So her date of release, she went February something. I don't remember what it was, but her release was August like 1st or something, which equaled like 7.5 years from that sentence. So technically 8.5 though, because she served the 1 year.
And what year was that?
2011 is when it
So
happened.
she's out.
She's
She's
out.
been out.
She's been out.
Had you know anything about where she's at, what she's doing?
I went to her release.
Oh, okay. And what was that
Yes.
like?
That was very interesting. I wasn't gonna go. I was in 2019. I had like forgotten that like she was gonna be released. I became a surrogate. So
Oh my gosh. That's
yes.
incredible.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I really wanted to find some sense of like purpose of like me allowing somebody like to have it felt very therapeutic. I had originally done it because one of my best friends couldn't have a baby and I watched her have miscarriage after miscarriage and it broke my heart. So we always joked around that like after I was done having kids, I'd be her surrogate. She ended up having a baby. It was a man. It wasn't her. So after I was done having my own kids, I was like, I still want to do this. Like, I feel like this would be such a great purpose in life, like to
Yeah.
be able to give somebody something that they can't have. Because remember, I'm under the terms that Cassandra can't have, like, they tried giving me the story that she had like hysterical pregnancies and she couldn't have babies. This is why her brain, she thought I was carrying her child. Like, they had painted this whole picture that like she was a woman who just couldn't have a baby and just lingered on to me and thought I was carrying hers.
Mhm.
So I was like, there's women out here that can't have their own children. Like, if I could have a baby for somebody with their DNA and give it to them, like, I don't know, like it feels like a sense of healing.
Mhm.
And so I did it and I ended up being pregnant. And so I was pregnant with a surrogacy baby.
When you were pregnant at her release?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. I didn't anticipate that happening because we had failed to like a transfer prior. So I should have like probably had given birth at that time, but instead I was going through the pregnancy. And so I told myself I wasn't going to go. They called me, do you want to come? No, I don't want to go. I'll listen. But then 3 days before I had decided that like, no, that's not who I am. Like, that's not who I am. I'm going to go there. This is going to be a sense of empowerment. This is me taking my story back. This is me taking everything back and like I don't know. I felt like a certain way, like I had to be there.
Mhm.
So 3 days prior, I called them and I don't know who I called, but I was like, I'm going. I'm going to bring my dad and my husband and like, we're all going to go. And so we went to Ash. It looked like a prison. It was kind of scary. It was kind of scary in there, I'm gonna be quite honest, because there's a lot of mental I don't want to say mentally unstable. Well, yeah, it would be
Mentally unstable and
unstable.
struggling people. Absolutely.
So-
That is a scary situation to be in.
It is because like I was walking by and like they were outside and like I could tell they were having like some type of like recess area and it was scary.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got in there, it was just like a prison though. Like you go in there, they take your bags, you get, they check you and everything. And then you sit in this little courtroom and you can hear everybody's case because there's a bunch of people that have these cases that day. So then Cassandra's, this lady who's been like helping me and prepping me through everything comes and sits next to me. I don't remember her name, but she was there during the trial. So she had known me and like,
She was a part of it.
She was a part of it. So she came there and she was like, do you want to speak? Like, you don't have to, you can just watch, like whatever you want. And I was like, no, I came here, I want to speak. And I don't know what I'm going to say. I went there with nothing, like no paper, just went there to pour my heart out. And to essentially, I wanted in Ash, the way that it works is like, if they believe she's still mentally unstable, they can keep her.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't believe that she was mentally stable. Every 6 months, in Ash, they do a reporting where they bring her up on the board and she's supposed to be presented with what medication she has, if it's working, what's not working. I stay on top of all of those. So every 6 months, I get all that stuff. And not once has it ever lasted longer than like 15 seconds.
Wow.
Because she's mentally not stable.
Oh my gosh.
So the goal was that if they ever did deem that she was mentally stable within her sentencing, she would spend the rest of it in prison. That was our plea agreement. So every time 6 months came, she would go up on the board. They'd say she's mentally unstable. None of the medication's working. Let's try something different. So that kept happening. And then magically, like 2 months before her release, she's magically better.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, she is not better. You can't, like, that is some bullshit. Like, you're not going to tell me that she's better. She's not. Like,
Yeah.
just 3 months ago, you guys deemed that
Or
she
she
wasn't.
was faking being unwell the whole time so that she wouldn't have to spend the remainder of her sentence in prison.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was
Manipulative.
convinced. Very manipulative. So I went there with like, no, I'm not here to cry. I'm here to fight because I'll be damned if she's going to not hear what I have to say. And I'll be damned if I'm not going to fight for mine and my son's safety.
Yep.
So I went there and I was pissed. So I was mad. And then I looked at her and I felt like a gummy bear. I was like, mm.
Oh, no.
So I had to like take a second, turn around. I was like, can I please not look at look at my perpetrator? Can I please turn around? So like I turned around and talked. And then in the middle of me talking, I don't remember exactly what I said, but I was very passionate, very passionate. When I felt comfortable enough, then I turned around and I said, I'm not scared of you. And I want you to realize that I am not scared of you, but I have a son that I need to protect. And like what you did is not okay. And you sitting there thinking that you're better when you're not is not okay. Like, you may have everybody else fooled, but you don't have me fooled. And I looked at the people, like the panel of I don't know what they're called because there was like 5 or 6 of them.
The people who are responsible for the decision.
Yes. And I remember looking at them and I said, like, I looked at the woman and I said, could you imagine being pregnant and almost having your baby cut out of you? Like, could you imagine this? I said, but the thing is that she's not in there for that. She's in there for arson. But it did matter. Like that mattered.
It's
that
context.
It's about it. And so I do remember when they were about to make their decision, the lady, like they all started like making their decisions. And the lady stood up and she goes, did you guys all not hear what this young woman has said? Did you guys not see how much courage she had to stand in front of us and say this? I don't agree. I'm calling a recess. We need to go to the back and talk.
Oh my gosh.
It was so crazy. The lady that I was with goes, I have worked here for so long and I've never seen that happen before. This has never happened. She goes, they've never went to the back to go talk or, whatever. And so they did like a 30-minute recess. And I remember going into the bathroom and I was like about to vomit. And I had a full on panic attack. Like I couldn't breathe. I was literally like holding on to the sink. And I remember screaming out of the top of my lungs because it just, everything hurt. Everything hurt inside of me. And I was pregnant. I was pregnant too. So it was just like a whole surreal moment. And when I went back in, she was outvoted. And she still fought for me though. So they released her with nothing. Just go out, live your life.
Figure out your life.
Yeah, figure out your life. No, nothing. Like nobody's going to check on you. Nobody's going to make sure you're taking your medication. But the lady, whoever it was, that lady was, she was able to get them to at least allow like for somebody to check on her. She had now she had stipulations when she got out, like that she had to go to some type of counseling and they had to make sure she was taking her medication, which was only going to go on for a year, but it was better than nothing.
Yeah.
She had fought as hard as she could have fought for me, and that meant a lot. And
so
then
Cassandra's out right now, and have you don't know what she's doing or where she's at. Have you followed along closely to try to like keep tabs on her?
People have told me things about her. So she lives like an hour away from me.
That's way too close for comfort.
Way too close for comfort. She lives like very, very close to like my brother-in-law, like not even like 6 or 7 minutes away from his house.
Oh my gosh.
And I know where she works. Like I know all these certain things about her, but I just don't I don't poke the bear. I don't tell people where she is. I just feel like because when I started to become more public on like, TikTok and Instagram and telling my story and explaining things, it got kind of scary because I don't want her to try to come back after me or be
you're
upset.
Like, let me just stay in my bubble. You stay away from me. I'm living my life.
Exactly. And I never say anything bad. And I always say that, like, I'm not gonna say anything bad about her. All I'm gonna do is tell you guys the truth about what happened, because this is not her story. This is mine. And I am allowed to take control of my own story and tell it how it did happen. Not even how I think it happened. It happened like this.
Yeah.
And so, I don't want her, she could be mad about it, but she hasn't came up to me. She's had like family members have, and
her family members have come to you?
Her husband's family members, because she got married, and that's a whole other dynamic. Like I heard that she got married, she had a baby, the baby got taken away by CPS, and the family members all found me because she had not told her husband or any of their family that she was in ASH for what she was in there for.
Oh.
So things started, when I started becoming more public, they were like, is this true? And I'm like, it's true. And I said, they're like, can you talk to her husband? I said, absolutely not.
Yeah, no way.
I will not do that. I said, if her husband wants to watch my stuff, which I'm sure she has watched, he is more than welcome to.
He can get the story.
Exactly. But I will not talk, and I will not tell him anything, because I will not be the reason why anything happens in her life. This is her consequences of what she did. And I don't want to be involved.
Did you ever find out who she was on the phone with that day, calling back and forth?
So right after sentencing, I don't know if you ever followed in 2020, do you remember when like Save Our Children's came out?
Yeah.
So hashtag Save Our Children's came out. Right before that happened, I had gone to the release, and then I decided, you know what? I don't know anything about my case. I know nothing about it. I never wanted to. I do remember though, I did an article within Maricopa, which is just like my local like newspaper. And I remember, like, I was telling like, we just did, like, a brief article when the ID channel was coming out, and he had grabbed the police report and some of the interrogation tapes, and he had told me, and he gave it to me, the police report, and said, "When you're ready one day, you should read this." He says, "Because I think you were lied to." He says, "I don't think you know your story the way that you think you know it." And I was like, "Excuse me?" Like, I was insulted. Like, "What do you
Yeah.
mean I don't know my story?" He's like, "I wrote this how you wanted." He said, "But I want you to know, like, there's stuff in here that you don't know about." And you wanna know what I did with it? I shredded it.
Oh my
I
gosh.
didn't wanna know,
Yeah.
but that always stayed with me. So when she got released, it brought all those wounds back up, and I was like, "You know what? I'm ready." Like, I feel like I just watched her get released, like, I feel like I'm in a point in, like, time my life where I can do this.
Yeah.
So I went down to the police station, I grabbed everything. I said, "I want everything on my case. I want the police report, I want the interrogation tapes, I want anything you
Mhm.
can give me to get me to understand." So they released everything to me, and I went down. It was her confession interrogation tape is like 3 hours, and I didn't have a CD player in my house, so I had to put it in my car. So I drove around my town for 3 hours
Oh my
listening
gosh.
to her talk about what she how, like, just, like, obviously they ask, certain questions, but she, like, bullshitted through the whole thing for a very long time. And so after, like, when it gets down to, like, the last, like, 45 minutes or, like, an hour, like, they're pissed. Like, the detective, the fire investigator, they're like, "Listen, we don't give a fuck what happens to you. Like, you wanna keep playing games, you don't wanna say what's going on, like, that's fine. Like, we're just gonna book you right now. You can deal with, like, everybody else later." And then she decides to start talking.
Mhm.
So when they start getting her to talk, she starts talking about, how she is a part of a gang and how she was, involved with the gang leader. His name was I forgot his name. It's in the police report. I think it might be Edward. Edwin was never her husband. All of that was a lie. It was a guy that she used to like in high school, but he was never real. But who was the people that she was talking to all the time? She was talking to this guy, the gang leader. They ask, "How did you meet Angelique? Like, how did you come about with Angelique being the person that you wanted to choose to do this for, like to kill her?" And she goes, "Well, Hannah." She goes, "Well, what do you mean?" She was like, "Hannah introduced us, and I told him I met this girl. She's a pregnant person out here, and he said that she would be perfect. That, for me to become friends with her, and when the time was right, we would execute our plan." And the way she talks about it, though, in this confession is like, we normally like, she
Mm.
talks about like they've done this before.
Mhm.
Um, she talks about how much money she would get for it. She talks about how, there was a buyer waiting across the border in Mexico for
So
them.
this wasn't about her trying to steal your child for herself because she was going through something mentally and thought either your baby was hers or she was so devastated that she couldn't have her own child. It was strictly a transaction.
It was a transaction. She was gonna get paid, and she was gonna stay in Mexico and not come back.
Wow.
And the thought when I heard that, like, I have a recording on my phone of it, and I remember, like, when I'm recording it for my best friend because, like, when I like, in certain parts, I would record certain things. She's like, "Do you want me to sit with you?" And I'm like, "No, I need to do this by myself. Like, let me be by
Mhm.
myself, but I'll record things for you." And I'm sitting there, and I'm listening to it, and you can see, like, you see, like, my CD player, like, my car, and you see my hands start to shake, and you hear me start to cry because, like, it's so just, like, nonchalant, like,
Yeah.
I was nothing. All I was a transaction.
Yeah.
All I was,
You were the carrier.
I was the carrier, and she just kinda just goes into detail, like, she goes into just straight detail about everything, just how they were gonna do it, the fire, what happened to the fire. That was never even a part of the plan, like,
Wow.
that just happened, but it makes sense because it all aligns in together, you know? You gotta think when she wanted me to leave to go to the park, so supposedly he was in the van waiting at the park for me. They were hoping that they
Oh,
could
that makes
take me
sense.
back to the house
Yep.
and do it there.
Mhm.
The goal was not to have the C-section performed in my house, but
No.
she had to keep improvising because
Yep.
I wasn't giving up. I wasn't leaving the house. When I turned around, when she said 3, that phone rang immediately. He was watching. When she said, "Hey, come get us," without even hesitation
Yeah.
of who this is, that was him.
Yeah. It was
Um,
planned. They had
it was planned.
orchestrated it together. So now looking back at everything in hindsight, your son is 15 now
He's
and
15.
you have 3 children, correct?
Yes.
How old are they?
So Ryland's 15, Maddox is 10, and Scarlett's 8.
Okay. And how does he know anything about your story?
Yes. So Ryland's gone on a lot of interviews with me as a baby. So, like, we did, like, the Dr. Phil show, and then we
Mhm.
did, the ID channel, so he was a part of both of those things, but he was a baby.
Mhm.
When I went to the release, he would have been 8 and a half. So,
Mhm.
he was 8 and a half when she was released, and I sat down that day when I came back home from the release, and I told him everything, And I said, I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you this because I want you to be protected and I want you to not be naive. And I want you to understand that there was a bad woman out here who wanted to take you. I'm not sure why she wanted to take you, but there was a reason. I showed him her picture. I went to the school, printed out the picture.
Good.
I took time off of work for about 3 months because I changed our routines. I wanted to make sure that I didn't have a routine that she could follow. Dr. Phil told me that I didn't have to worry about her ever coming back after me because she wanted a newborn. But
Oh, because he knows.
yeah, because he knows.
Yeah, because he knows.
So I was like, that's what he always told me. And that's what people always told me. Like, why are you scared? She wanted a newborn.
Retaliation, anything. It could be just to ruin your life because she thinks you ruined hers now. There could be a
Exactly.
million reasons.
It's not, people call me naive, like it's like an insult. I'm not insulted that I'm naive, but you're not going to see me be naive about the same situation twice.
Right.
Like we're allowed to grow. That's what, as humans, we're meant to grow. We're meant to learn, go through hardship and learn from that and grow from it. And so this is me growing from that. And if I'm scared, I'm scared.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to change everything about our lives. Like, I mean, we didn't move or anything, but like I did leave Maricopa for about 6 or 7 years. And then I ended up back in Maricopa. So it was just changing everything, being more visual, being more, realizing our surroundings. And for about a year or so, it felt really good and we weren't bothered. And so I do feel like now I feel a lot better, but I'm still the same way.
Yeah.
I still don't keep my eyes off of things, especially with me being public. I feel like my story is very unique. Fetal abduction is something that doesn't happen often, but we learn from other people's mistakes and we learn from things that they've gone through.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to stop talking about the situation.
It's your story. It's yours to tell. You shouldn't ever feel like you need to stop talking about it. And how has that journey been like for you? Because you have gone on Dr. Phil, you've done interviews, you have a very big presence and growing presence on TikTok and social media where you're sharing your story. Do you feel like that has been empowering for you and that it's been received well? And how has that entire situation been for you?
At first on TikTok, it was very scary. People started to recognize me from the Dr. Phil show, and that's kind of how that transpired. And that's when I decided to take my story back and kind of give an explanation and kind of break everything down for people because the Dr. Phil show did not show that. So now it feels empowering because I feel like I'm finally being able to take my story back from what other people have said about me. The Dr. Phil show, I feel like made me feel like I was stupid. The ID channel wasn't bad, but it didn't give the facts. It gave lies too. Like, unfortunately, like when you do documentaries and things like that, I think people need to realize that sometimes it's not the truth. Sometimes there's things that aren't truthful in it. And so this was my first time to actually say it from my own mouth. Now, I got a lot of backlash for a lot of times. People kept telling me to like stop feeling sorry for myself. And
are you out of your mind? What?
It's the internet. It's crazy.
Trust me. Yeah.
So I stopped talking about it for a little bit. Like I never went on podcasts. I never did anything else. And then in 2023, I think I went on my first true crime podcast, which was like the Murder Diaries. And that was my first time ever like doing something with like true crime. And then I started to get more involved into true crime, just like listening to other people's stories. And I started to realize I wasn't alone.
Yeah.
I started to realize my biggest thing that I always state is that trauma is trauma, no matter how big or how small. Like, there's no reason to compare like my story with somebody else. Like we all go through the same thing. We all go through PTSD. We all can relate. We all dissociate. Like it just felt like I finally stepped into this world where I wasn't alone. And I still wasn't ready to like venture off and talk to like these other people. But I felt good. So then I started to learn to do things like and do podcasts. And then I decided, you know what? I know it's been a couple of years and people criticized me and said I was stupid, but I'm going to tell my story with confidence.
Yeah.
And that's when I did my full, like I have a story time button on my TikTok. It's very long. It's like 10 minutes, like it's like 7-10 minute videos, but it's basically what you and I talked about. Like I break everything down and it felt so empowering. It felt so good. It felt good to finally like be able to talk about like everything. And the biggest part was the confidence that it took. Like, so I feel amazing about it. And I feel like I'm helping other people. I have, sometimes I feel like maybe I shouldn't talk about it because people are like, okay, it happened to you, get over it.
No.
Like it's been years. You don't know how many times I hear that. And sometimes it gets in my head where I'm like, maybe I should stop talking about it.
You go through something similar to this and then you tell me when you want to stop talking about it. Like, give me a break.
Well, and I think people need to realize that like I didn't start talking about it until 2020. And almost 10 years after my trauma. Like,
Mhm.
and if you talk to a lot of survivors, a lot of them do the same thing. They
Yeah.
don't talk for a while because
No.
they can't, it takes a while to go through therapy to understand what happened to you, to break everything down, and then also wanting to talk. You don't
Mhm.
usually find survivors that go through the trauma and they're like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, let's go ahead and talk about it, just like how I am right now. They
Yeah.
don't do that. So I am just really happy like that I was able just to fully like take my story back and talk about it. I met some friends like Tara. I've met
Mhm.
Tara. She really helped me with building my confidence and talking to podcast. And I recently just did a documentary for the Dr. Phil and all these things. Like I would feel like Tara's like my big sister. She guides me and
Mhm.
helps me, and
That's great.
it's just really nice.
What do you hope that people take away when they hear your story?
I hope they take away the intuition part. I
Mhm.
hope that they understand that because as young, not even just young women, like as just young people in life, like we tend to want to run away from like whatever that voice inside of our head is telling us, or we don't understand what it is because I didn't understand.
Mhm.
I'm very thankful that like I listened, but what I want other people to realize is that like I between it only took like maybe half a second that I could have died and this could have, happened to me. So I always want people to take away the intuition and just trusting yourself and learning to be more intuitive with yourself. But I also want other people and I want young women to understand what this crime is because unfortunately when it happened to me it wasn't very common, and ever since 2011 there's more cases
Mhm.
that have happened. You have Michelle, you have Marlene, is it Marlene, um Reagan, all of them.
Mhm.
Like they're different, our stories are different, but they're also very
It's
very
rooted in the
alike.
same. Mhm.
And it's just that I don't want to see this happen. It literally breaks my heart when I see this happening because it's
Yeah.
just like I feel like these women could have been saved, and we're not talking about this crime that much because it's not common.
Yeah.
And, like when you have like sexual abuse or you have like, domestic violence, like you have this whole circle of people that unfortunately it's so sad that it's happened to so many people, but there's this larger circle. There's not that with fetal abduction.
Yeah.
And I don't want there to be.
Right.
Please don't join this club.
Yeah.
I don't want you to be a part of this club, but please like take away from the fact of making friends when you're pregnant, being aware when you're pregnant, because honestly, like I think there was some type of study done that said like the number one cause of death in the US to pregnant women was murder, or
Mhm.
was like something along the lines of that. And it wasn't just about fetal abduction. It was about like, husbands that murder, their pregnant wives, all of that. Like we're in such a vulnerable state at that moment and we're a target.
Mhm.
So I just want women to understand that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your story. Truly, I know that it was longer than we initially had planned, but
sorry.
no, please, I'm grateful. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. I know that everybody listening to has been is fascinated and loves hearing your story too. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been
Yes,
great.
thank you. And so I'm going to put all of your socials, everything in the episode description and the show notes so people can follow along with your story, your journey. They can go watch your story time. But thank you so much for being
Yes,
here.
thank you, Annie.
Angelique's story is one that is both terrifying and also incredibly powerful. It's a reminder for all of us that sometimes danger can come from the people that we trust the most. And again, another reminder that our instincts are there for a reason. I've said this before, and I know it maybe sounds lame or cliche, but your intuition and your gut, it's there as your first line of defense. It's there to protect you. It's there to tell you when something's wrong. So when you listen to that gut feeling, it quite literally can save your life. Her story is also an incredible story about survival. I mean, Angelique lived through something that very few people could even imagine, no less survive and get through. And today she's using her voice to raise awareness about fetal abduction cases and help others who, God forbid, are in that situation recognize the warning signs. Far too often are we hearing about cases where there's Facebook market exchanges or sales and people befriending them, and that's the plan all along. So by raising awareness, hopefully, it will help curb future fetal abduction cases in the future. Now, really quickly before we wrap this episode up, I do want to just say this. There is a lot more that is tied into this case. I'm talking video clips of Angelique hearing the confession for the first time, videos, documents, court filings, so much. I was going to put it throughout this episode, but I really did not want to break up the interview. I felt like I wanted Angelique to be able to share her story uninterrupted. I wanted it to be a clear experience for all of you. So what we've done done is something that we've never done before, but depending on how you like it, we may do this for many cases or all cases in the future. But I went ahead and put our entire Angelique case folder over on Patreon, where that way you can see all of the research, all the court filings, all of the videos, the clips that she shared with us firsthand that we didn't put into this episode, the confession, things like that, where it just gives you a little bit more of a deeper look and deeper understanding of this case. Completely optional, of course, but it's for those of you who want to take it a little bit further, a little bit more behind the scenes, behind the research, into the case folder itself, how we gather all of our research, and of course, some of those video clips and the material that is tied to this case. So it just helps paint a fuller picture for those of you who are, true crime enthusiasts like myself that want to know every single detail involved in a case. So all of that the whole case folder is over on Patreon right now, patreon.com/AnnieElise. You can get access. And once you're over there, please let me know if you want us to start doing that for the majority of our cases. As you know, we collect so much information as we're building an episode between the FOIA requests, the outreach, the interviews, court filings, whatever it may be, that we have these massive case folders that we could easily share with you. For those of you who want to sleuth a little bit and want to look into it yourselves and want to see some of this stuff firsthand. And it's just, again, a little bit of a way to go beyond the episode. So go ahead, take a look. It's up now, and let me know if you want us to start doing that for other cases. But anyway, back to what I was saying regarding Angelique. So I just want to thank Angelique again for sharing her story with us, and thank all of you guys for listening. And if you want to learn more about Angelique, her story, the great work that she's doing, I will include all of her information in the show notes below. But thank you so much for listening. Until the next one, be nice, don't kill people, stay off of Facebook Marketplace, and just be careful with who you trust. All right, bye.